Let's go to the Berg, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Hello there.
Good evening, Bruce.
Good evening.
Jim from Pittsburgh.
I'm sorry, you're Jim?
Yep.
Okay, Jimmy, what's on your mind?
Well, I have a couple of questions. My wife and I are going to sell our home, and I was thinking that before I do anything, I thought it would be probably a reasonable idea to have a proper appraisal done so that I would have some idea of what the property is realistically worth.
I think that's a very, very wise move.
In my area. Now, about 20-some years ago, after we moved in, we had several walls put up, and we had the property surveyed at that time to make sure where our property line was, and the contractor then came in and used the surveyor's marks to put up the walls. And I assume that
we're talking about external walls, like
right, external
retaining walls.
Right. And I assume that the walls are properly on our property, etc.
Right.
But let's just suppose, as Murphy's Law works, that maybe I'm 6 inches over on the other man's property. Now, these have been in place for 20 years. What happens?
Well, I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody could give you a clear answer. It could be argued that they've been there for 20 years. You see, first of all, it's a state-by-state proposition. Let's start with that. But what you're talking about is the operation of adverse possession. And that varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. So let us assume, for the sake of this discourse, that you do have some kind of a
adverse
incursion.
Possession.
Well, no. You have an incursion. Adverse possession, next step.
Okay.
Adverse possession means you have some rights. Now, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know the answer to that. But as a practical proposition, how wide are your lots? Let's start with that.
180 feet.
All right. What is the zone?
No.
That's the depth, width.
Yeah, it's 60 feet wide.
What does the zone require as a minimum width?
I don't really know.
You've been there 20 years, you don't know what your zone calls for? That's terrible. Probably 50 feet.
Okay.
How wide is the guy next door or either side that you're concerned about? Same thing, about 60
Same thing,
feet?
yeah.
All right. Worst case scenario. Worst case. They don't want that retaining wall dug up, I don't think, because it's to their advantage as well as your own. Well, can we agree on that?
Right.
On both properties.
Right.
So let's assume you got a 6-inch incursion. We're making a lot of assumptions here, clearly.
Right.
Let's further assume that the minimum lot requirement is 50 feet. If it's 60, you're dead in the water. Do you see why?
Right.
Why?
Well, because you clearly violated their zoning and overstepped the boundary.
No, you've overstepped it already. That's not the problem. But the problem is, let us assume, for the sake of this discourse, that the zone requires 60 feet. If he had to give up 6 inches, now his lot is now an undersized lot. And he's got a serious problem. Let's sneak around the corner. We'll talk about this some more. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I am chatting with a gentleman in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. 20-odd years ago, he had his property surveyed, and then some retaining walls were installed. Now he's concerned, what happens if the retaining wall is a tad on the other guy's property, which would not exactly be a brand new furrow. Well, if his property, let's make an assumption, and it boggles the mind, it really does, that you would live there for 20 years and you don't know what the zoning is. That surprises me.
Well, it's just one of those things I never paid any attention to and probably should have.
Well, as a property owner, everybody listening to me right now should know how their property is zoned. Furthermore, they ought to be aware of the fact that cities and towns and burgs and townships and boroughs have a propensity for rezoning. Well, that's not just that can reduce the property value of your property by 20, 30, 40%. That's why you got to read the local papers and see what the rascals are up to. If they're talking about doing something in the R16 zone, which you may be in, you better be up in arms if it's not going to be to your advantage. But that's why they can do this stuff. And I was a member of a governing body, because most people haven't a clue what the hell is going on in their lives, and they're too busy watching the tube instead of reading the local paper. Now, making an assumption, a 60-foot frontage would be an odd requirement. Let's assume it's 50 feet. Let us further assume that your builder screwed up and he's 8 inches over on one side. Let's hope it isn't on both sides. the easiest way to resolve that would be at your expense for all the legals to go before the planning commission and let your neighbor subdivide off a 1-foot strip onto your property. So he now has 59 feet and you have 61 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Because otherwise you'd have to rip the thing. You could not sell your home.
Right.
You'd have to rip the wall down and replace it, which could get very expensive. And it wouldn't accomplish a thing.
Right.
Now, it might be that he could grant you an easement in perpetuity for that wall.
Mm-hmm.
That may be another way it could be accomplished.
All right. Now, the fact that I had this surveyed beforehand by
has nothing to do with anything.
Engineer and the contractor screwed up, do I have any recourse against the contractor?
20 years later?
No.
No, I don't think so. First of all, he's probably not around.
Well, he's around.
Okay, but how do you know he's around the same corporate entity?
Mm-hmm. I see.
You don't. 20 years later, I doubt it.
Mm-hmm.
Could be argued you can't start an action to recover before you know there's a problem.
Right.
It could be further argued that you should have had it resurveyed to find out if there was a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think 20 years later much you can do about it.
Right.
So the chance that you'd have that subdivide the strip off,
mm-hmm.
or give an easement in perpetuity for the wall,
mm-hmm.
which would end whenever the wall gets removed.
Right.
And it would have to be mutually agreeable if the wall goes or it's outlived its usefulness or something of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
There's some way, but I'd find out now.
Mm-hmm.
Not after you sold it, because let's assume for the sake
Oh,
of
no,
this
no, I wouldn't try to do that, no.
No, understand this. You said you're thinking about selling it, right?
Right.
If you're really concerned about this, have your property surveyed again.
Mm-hmm.
Because if there is a problem,
mm-hmm.
then you wouldn't have a gun to your head in terms of curing the problem.
Right.
If you were trying to sell the place,
mm-hmm.
and the new guy wants to move in, he sold his other house,
right.
and it may take 6 months to cure the problem, you lose the deal.
Okay.
So given that, sort of, if you're concerned, and you may have reason to be concerned.
Well, I don't know that I am, but, these things, crop up when all of a sudden you think about it.
Do they ever?
Huh?
At the most inappropriate time.
Right. Now, another question, if you will permit me.
Sure.
When, suppose the survey's done, everything's okay, and the appraisal is decent. When you're listing this with one of these multi-list people, how much time should you give them to sell the house, and what is decent?
They're going to tell you 6 months. I'd give them 3.
That's what I thought.
You can always renew it if you think there's been activity and the guy or gal's doing a good job for you. Nothing to prevent you from re-upping for another 3 months.
Right.
If I'd give them 90 days the first time out of the block.
Mm-hmm.
Your idea of having it appraised by an independent appraiser makes abundant sense.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck, guy.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr.
You're
Williams.
very welcome.
Bye.
Buffalo, it's your turn. Welcome to Talknet.
Hey, Bruce. I appreciate it. I have a problem I hope you can help me with. Back on October the 31st, we were contacted by a collection agency about an unpaid bill from a couple of years ago from a hospital for $60. The gentleman... Hello?
I'm right here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just sitting here hanging on the edge of my couch.
Okay, well, the gentleman who talked to my wife over the telephone said, you have a $60, and we said, yes, and we do.
Then you acknowledge the debt.
We acknowledged the debt and made agreements to send him a check for $20 that day, and that in the following month we would send him an additional $20, and then the third month to pay off the entire debt. So we sent him a check on October the 31st, and lo and behold, I get my checks back this month, and noticed that he took my check and with the information on it and the numbers, the computer numbers, with a computer made 2 additional checks and in 2 weeks submitted 3 checks for the sum of $60 without me ever approving it.
You've got to be kidding. That's fraud.
Well, that's what I thought. And I don't know where to go. I called
first of all, you call a bank.
Okay.
Your bank.
Okay.
And you say you want to get credit for $40. Mm-hmm. And you're perfectly agreeable to signing an affidavit of fraud that they have accepted a document which you in no way, shape, form, or regard authorize.
Okay.
That's for openers. And if your bank says something, you tell them you talk to me.
I will.
And that I told you, and I'm certain I'm correct in this matter, that they, the bank, have to go to the bank where this was submitted and recover from them, given the fact that you were prepared to sign an affidavit of fraud.
Okay.
They had no right to do what they did.
No, matter of fact, when I called today to inquire and the operator picked it up, she goes, oh, wait, let me let you talk to a manager. So a gentleman gets on the telephone. He says, well, I'm not saying that we didn't screw up here, but I'm going to send you your $40 back.
Oh, we did?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, in that case, they may have screwed up, or more likely they do this and figure, well, most people won't say anything because the money's owed anyway. But if they're willing to send you the money back, take the money, then send them their $20 each time. Or if you just want to get rid of it and say keep the 40, that's up to you.
All right. Well, thanks for your help.
I'm surprised that quickly they said we'll give you your money back. That's quite a surprise.
Well, as a matter of fact, he said I'll give you your $40 back and your original 20.
Is that right?
And he was real nervous, and he goes, well, I says, I feel violated here. You took my information, entered it into a computer.
All right, okay. I understand. Oh, wait a while. There's two things possible here. One, that they do this routinely, and people don't squawk, or possibly somebody made a mistake, because there is a system today, because we had it for a while in one of my companies, where we could take your check over the phone, cut a check and deposit it, with your permission, of course.
Sure.
With your permission. And it goes without saying that anytime you have someone's check, all the data that one needs is in your possession to use it fraudulently. Did they say they would excuse the debt, give you your $20 back and excuse the debt?
No, I asked him that, and he says, well, I don't have the power to do that.
Well, why don't you go back and ask him for that?
Well, I did, and I said, well, who do you report to? He says, well, I report to the vice president of collections.
Well,
I
go
said,
talk to him.
Let me talk to him. Well, I can't release you his name. What do you mean you can't release me his name? I tell you what, I'll give you 24 hours to make that decision, because I'm going to pursue this further.
Fine.
I'm waiting for his call tomorrow, but I wanted to talk to you in the meantime.
Well, I'm surprised they went this far, and given that, I suspect that they routinely do this and hope people don't squawk. If that's the case, they are dead wrong.
Right.
Good luck, guy.
All right, thanks a lot, Bruce.
I'm Bruce Williams. Hang in. This is Talknet. We go now to Des Moines, whatever. Hello there.
How you doing, Bruce?
I'm okay, kid. How are you?
Not too bad. First of all, I have to agree with your opening comment about children getting spanked. I agree 100% there.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to disagree, but that's fine.
Yeah.
What's on your mind, my friend?
Well, I was calling to get your opinion on buying a vehicle with a salvage title. What I'm looking at is it's been rolled, and I would buy it and fix it. Any opinions on that?
Well, you know that it's not, in many states, I don't think this is true in all states, by the way. In many states, if you have a car that has been totaled or has been underwater or a whole bunch of other things, it has to show on the title that the car at one time was exposed or suffered from these different maladies.
Exactly. That's the way it is in Iowa.
Right. And obviously, if I look at the title and I see on there, wow, this thing is, let's say it was in a flood for the sake of discussion, I might be reluctant to purchase it. On the other side of that, if you're to look for, if you're a mechanic, I take it.
Not anymore, but I was.
All right, shade tree mechanic. You'd understand something about cars, right?
Exactly.
You're going to do this yourself, from what I gather, or are you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. If you're going to do this for your own account, for lack of a better way of describing it, in other words, you see this 1992 which you can buy, and you fix it up, and you're going to keep the thing till the wheels fall off and then give it a decent burial. Well, nothing wrong with that at all. You can buy a car and save a ton of money.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as for resale, is that what you're thinking about?
No, actually, I was just trying to get your opinion on, whether it was worth it or not, because that's exactly right. I could save about close to $10,000.
Oh, and you're going to keep it for you.
Exactly.
Oh,
and
why
drive the
not?
wheels off from it.
Why not? I have no problem with that at all. You see, the public is being protected, and I suspect that's okay, because a lot of unscrupulous people were buying flood cars was the big thing. When a car, as you know, has been underwater, that car needs a lot of work before it's going to be in appropriate shape again, and when it's been under salt water, even more work. That isn't to say that car can't be restored to perfect condition, because it can. But it requires, a lot of stuff can be temporarily, for lack of a better way of putting it, masked.
Yeah.
Or how about the car that's been really scrunched up in a wreck? There's not a reason in the world why a frame can't be straightened. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do. It's not always a perfect thing. Maybe done again, but can we agree on that?
Exactly.
Frames can be straightened. People say, well, that's not a new car anymore. Hey, the day you drive it away, it's a used car.
Yeah.
When it's a year or two old, it's a very used car. So you have to put used fenders on there. So what? Suppose it's got to be repainted again. Some repaint jobs are better than the originals.
Yeah, I hear you there.
I have a car sitting in my garage as we speak, 40 feet from where I'm doing the show. Fair enough?
Okay.
Now, if you can see pictures of that car when it went to be restored, it's a 1964 and a half Mustang convertible. But it was sitting around with both of my kids in high school, sat in my garage for 14, 15 years. It was a total basket case. Well, with enough effort and time and money, it's a brand new automobile sitting out there. So cars can be rebuilt and restored. You have to put up, but the big thing is that it requires money and labor. But if you want to substitute your own spare time, which you don't put a high value on, I have no problem with that at all.
Okay.
None
I was
whatever.
trying to get that by my wife. She kept saying, well, I don't want a wrecked vehicle. I keep telling her, I heard you say once, well, you don't know if they're wrecked when they come out of the manufacturer.
Well, that's right. Cars get smacked up. Now, beyond a certain point, the manufacturer's required to say something, too. But people will say, hey, this car didn't run right. I want a new car. Do you think for a moment that when the car comes off the production line, doesn't run right, they have a big crusher and they crush it up and start again?
Yeah.
Not hardly. I knew a fellow years ago. That was his job at one of the major manufacturers, in an assembly plant not too far from where I live. His job was to take the cars that came off the production line that were imperfect and make them perfect. Had a bad engine, put no one in, bad shock, whatever it took. He wasn't the only one there, obviously, but that was his job, working for whatever it doesn't matter what the manufacturer. I'm sure every manufacturer has guys to do exactly that. I'm with you.
All righty.
I wish you well, guy.
Thanks, Bruce.
You're very, very welcome. Let's drift over to Dayton and see what's happening. Hello there.
Hello. How you doing, Bruce?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Great to talk to you. I'll get right to the point.
Go.
I'm a brand new small businessman. Ink isn't quite wet on the permit, but very close.
Mm-hmm.
And finding an awful lot of frustration dealing with local regulation.
Oh, welcome to the club. And 90% of that regulation is totally, absolutely unnecessary.
Well, I'm glad to hear that you agree.
Oh, as a businessman, how can you help it? You know the sick part is?
What?
When those inspectors go home at night, hey, Harriet, give me a beer. I had a hell of a day. I worked my tail off. When in reality, 90% of what they do is totally unnecessary to the economy and to their community and to the world.
Specifically, what is bothering me right now is I'm in the confectionery business.
Mm-hmm.
I make candy. Simple put.
What a surprise that is, yeah.
Well, not everybody knows confectionery. I know you do, but what can you say? And you read stories about people who start the confectionery business, start a bakery business. Every one of them. Oh, I started off making candy in my home.
Yeah, Gertrude Hawkes is the classic candy example, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Gertrude Hawkes is the classic candy example. Started off in her kitchen, and it's a huge chain today.
Well, all I want to know is how come none of these lovely stories of starting your own small candy business include your bust by county health because you started off illegally?
Well, because the fact is that we have gotten so overregulated. How old are you?
27.
Oh, you're only a kid.
Yeah.
Do you have children?
Not yet.
All right. Well, you remember being one?
Oh, yeah.
All right. When we get back, I'll try to draw some parallels, and whether they're valid or not is another story. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. This is Talknet. I am chatting with a young fellow in Dayton, Ohio. He has opened a business, and he's complaining about overregulation, and he and I are holding hands on this one. And I asked if he had any children. He said no, but he remembers being one. It wasn't so long ago. When I was a kid, now that's a million years ago, we realized that Pericles and I were schoolmates. You understand that?
Did you do well?
No, as a matter of fact, my Greek and Roman and whatever were not. Anyway, when I was a kid, I sold I sold at toy stores actually, but lead, L-E-A-D soldiers that I melted down lead pipe and put them into molds and then cleaned up the castings and painted them and whatever. The point is that they sold these toy soldier kits to anybody who wanted to buy them. Can you imagine them allowing them to sell something where a 10 or 12-year-old could you deal with molten lead in any form today?
You couldn't even sell the toy.
That's right. Exactly right. And it just seems to me, okay, if a kid chewed on this, there could be a problem or whatever. But tell you that, this goes back to my monologue when I went another hour, that, about spanking children and so forth. Somehow or other, I would prefer my kid made lead soldiers, and I'll take the chance to lead exposure than hanging around the mall somewhere. You see.
Yeah.
But to be 1,000 civil libertarians would say that kid has a right to hang out in a mall, and that mall throws him out as guilty of trampling on their civil rights and so on and so forth and whatever. And I just think that on the one hand, years and years ago, when I was just out of the Air Force, my friend Bob Geyer and I, we're going to sell Christmas trees, which we've been doing ever since, okay?
Okay.
And we rented a lot in South Orange, New Jersey for $35. I went to the barber shop next door, made a deal to put an extension cord in there, it had lights, and we sold Christmas trees. That was it. A couple, 3, 4 years ago, I decided to go into a different community to sell. I still sell Christmas trees, just for the hell of it. Whatever, the reasons are extraneous. It wasn't to make money, but I wanted to do something, all right?
Okay.
We had to get a building permit because we had a little dinky, little tag-along trailers, but it wasn't attached to a car. If it was attached to a car, it was a trailer. Unattached, we had to get a building permit. We had to get, no electrical lines could be on the ground, God forbid. We had $1,500 worth of permits and work to put a few Christmas trees.
Unbelievable.
Now, what did that $1,500 produce? Well, it produced some fees for the community. But it didn't add to the value of the Christmas tree a penny, but it added to the cost to the public. And every one of those guys, I'm sure, went home at night and said, boy, Harriet, I really worked my butt off. I had to go to that Christmas tree. Would you believe that guy had a sign that was 3 inches too big? My God, we showed him.
I bet.
Now, of course, and you say, people are going to say, well, I didn't move here to have a sign in my neighborhood and all that crap. But the point is that we have so overregulated business with burdensome regulations that start in this. I had a young girl call me, I don't know if it's in this segment, I heard another one, but she wanted to start a lingerie shop. 25 years ago, she could have done it with a few bucks she had. It's not today. The classic example, they built the Empire State Building in 1 year and 40-odd days, the whole damn thing. Today, it would take 5 times that long to get an environmental impact study before you could dig the first hole. I'd be glad to debate that on any platform. Thanks for your call, Guy. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet.
All the mileage programs you're involved in,
I don't think much of the mileage programs either. What do you think of that?
Well, I have used them, and I've used them well, and I've just managed to be disenchanted with one.
I just tried to get tickets today. Honest to God.
Before the end of the month.
No. I tried to get tickets to Seoul, Korea.
Okay.
Business class.
Right.
They said you got to get about 11 months to a year in advance.
Oh my God.
Because they only allow so many, and this particular airline, so many people want to go to Hawaii, and that's one of the legs. Well,
the other one I think is through Tokyo, isn't it?
That this particular airline doesn't go that way. They go through Tokyo, but you got to go to Hawaii. Mm-hmm. And I just said, the hell with it, I'll buy tickets if I'm going to go, which is what I do. But the restrictions, the frequent flyer thing has been the most successful sales promotion that U.S. industry has ever seen.
Right.
In the world.
And
then you call them and but you can only go if you're pregnant and you're over 60 and you've crossed the meridian 3 times.
I must say,
and you belong to the Shellback Club.
I must say that I have never had difficulty in using any of my mileage. But now this one, I am applying to a partner of one of the major airlines.
Yeah, foreign partner.
Pardon?
Foreign flag partner,
right. I flew to French Polynesia. And so I came home and I took my tickets and the copy of my ticket and my boarding passes, saved carefully, sent them in, and expected credit because.
Let me guess. You were flying with let me see. One of the Australian airlines or one of the New Zealand airlines? No. Over there?
Nope.
Well,
just to French Polynesia, just to Tahiti.
Well, you went from where to where?
Well, they said not to mention the airline.
That's all right. I'll mention the airline in a minute. I can guess. There's only some...
Well, I went from Los Angeles to Tahiti.
Well, you got Northwest goes there.
Oh.
And you have, is an American carrier or a foreign carrier?
It's a foreign carrier, and it's a partner of a large American carrier.
You have, what is the Australian national airline?
Well, no, it was European. It's a European carrier that flies to French Polynesia.
From the West Coast?
From the West Coast.
KLM?
No.
Who? Tell me, I'm guessing.
Air France.
Air France, okay.
Who else goes to French Polynesia? Hardly anybody.
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe Northwest goes there.
I'm not sure.
It's to Tahiti.
I'm not sure. Well, this was to Tahiti, and they are in partnership with a major airline here. Yeah, okay. And I belong to their mileage credit card. I've been accruing miles for 20 years, ever since the program started. Mm-hmm. And when I sent all this in, they refused to acknowledge it and sent a nice letter back saying that, we have that restricted. You can only fly our airline to Europe. You can't fly to the Pacific with it, and yet in their promos, it lists, along with a dozen or 24 other partners, it lists this airline, Air France, as being the...
But without
without restrictions.
Well, the problem with airlines, and I boost the airline, I say nice things on the air about airlines.
I know you do.
However, and this is true...
Be that as it may.
It's also true of Amtrak, as an example. That's a government operation, right? Mm-hmm. You listen to the commercials, and there's 30 seconds of commercials, and there's 30 seconds of restrictions. And the restrictions are read faster than there's a guy years ago who you may not be old enough to remember was Speedy Riggs, who did the American tobacco. Hey, sold American. They talk faster than that. With all the restrictions, as they said, they give you this $99 fare around the world with first class. However, you have to have a unicorn horn, and I mean it's absurd.
You could get that in print. At least you know that there are restrictions. You could get that in print. They say Air France is a partner, and you can accrue miles by flying on our partners, or sailing on our partners, or staying with our partners, or renting a car with our partners.
But it always says certain restrictions apply.
Well, I haven't found out yet where,
every one of their ads, you're going to see someplace in there, certain restrictions apply. Mm-hmm. Now, maybe not, it would apply in this case. Who is the American flag carrier?
United.
Okay.
Yeah, and they've been very good about everything else. And to list a carrier and then just eliminate half of
because very possibly you would have chosen another way to get there.
Another way to go. Although it was a perfectly delightful flight. I have no problem with it.
Yeah, I understand that.
It's long, it's 8 hours, but that's going to be no matter who goes.
Well, I understand that, but the point is that people today, and you're in the travel business, you know better than I, go way out of their way to select a carrier or a hotel or a car rental agency that helps them accrue miles toward the free trips. And I can't believe that someone as astute as you are that would have selected Air France. If you could have gone, we'll say, and I believe they go to Polynesia Northwest, and I'm certain. What's the Australian national airline? I want to.
Qantas.
Qantas. Uh-huh. I have to believe that Qantas goes there. Or one of the. Well, if Qantas doesn't go there, you most certainly can go with Qantas to Australia and back over to Tahiti, which is not that far. But the point is, there are other ways you could have gone and acquired miles. Now, I assume that you can get Air France miles for this trip.
I could get Air France. They've just started a program of miles. They hadn't
but the fact is that they probably don't go a lot of places you want to go.
And with this 8,000 miles that I would have accrued on these two going and returning would have brought me up to another mileage ticket before the end of January, when the tickets now will go up to
25,000.
25,000. Right.
I don't know what to tell you. I would certainly write a very vigorous letter to United and say that I would like you to provide me with material that shows where these restrictions have been promulgated in print. And if they don't provide that, then I'd write to the what is the regulatory agency that
I know what you mean.
Airline Transport. I don't think it's the FAA. I don't believe it's the FAA.
I can find out what.
Indeed, you can. I drop them a note and say, look, I was misled, and I want to know why and under what provision they're allowed to do so. If there's somebody with United that wants to respond, I'd be delighted to hear from you at 703-413-8381. You stay listening, okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, baby. I'm a booster of the air. I want to see the airlines make money, and I always say nice things about them when something happens nice. And I can't think of an airline I've ever traveled with that somebody hasn't been very accommodating. But the restrictions, this voluminous fine print of restrictions, I really object to. I really do. You want to get travel to certain days and this, that, the other thing, and I really think that it could be simplified. But the unhappy fact is the public wants to believe they're going to get something for nothing. I suppose that's the problem, and the airlines have to respond to that perception. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Houston, Texas. Hello there.
Howdy, Bruce. How are you?
I am just fine, thanks.
Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and a long-time listener, and I felt like, well, let's give it a try here. I'm interested in buying a small retail ice cream chain, and my question is, I want to know about how to go and verify the data that the owner gives me in terms of sales and expenses, etc., to verify his income from the store.
Well, the obvious is taxes. The less
he did give me 3 years worth of tax returns.
The less obvious is if you have the knowledge to go into something like this. Do you know much about the business?
A little bit. I would say pretty enough to do it. I've got 3 years of restaurant experience.
Well, what I'm trying to get to is that you can know an awful lot about a business on what the guy buys. Hello?
Oh, you mean in his purchases?
That's right. You could tell a ton about a business.
Yeah. Well, the numbers he gave me don't verify what he told me verbally, and I don't know if that's unusual or normal.
Well, I don't know. What you're telling me is he's fudging somewhere?
He's implying that.
Oh, you mean he's telling you is, but you give you that look, but I'm really screwing the government, and I'm taking a lot more.
Yeah. He says he's making around 30% on the dollar, and he's got sales of 200,000 plus.
You said a chain?
Yeah.
How many stores?
Well, this is a nationwide chain. He just owns one.
Oh, you're talking about he has a franchise or something.
Yeah.
He's probably also telling you he's screwing the franchisor because they get paid a percentage.
Yeah. Yeah, they do, and what I know about the restaurant business, the return percentages he's talking about seem excessive to me.
Mm-hmm.
I would believe more around 20% probably, but not 30.
Well, I can't. There's too many variables to come up with an answer there. Some are doing better than that.
Yeah.
And some are doing a lot worse. The greater the volume, the bigger the percentage.
Yeah.
Because your fixed expenses are spread across a much bigger base, as we both know.
Right. He won't give me his personal tax return, just the business. Should I want that?
Well, it depends. How badly do you want this business, and how badly do you want to peddle it?
Well, I've been looking at this kind of business for about a year more, and kind of got my sights on this type of industry.
Yeah, I didn't say that. We're talking about this particular deal. Or put another way, how long has he had it on the market?
About a month.
How much action is he getting, or do you know?
He said initially a lot of calls, but I don't think he's aggressively trying to sell it. I mean, he's not too flexible on his price, and he doesn't seem aggressively trying to sell it in that, well, this is my price, and I've given you the tax returns, and you kind of piece it together and make your best shot.
Lovely.
So I thought, well, let me give somebody else a call here that knows.
Well, you see that there's a lot of times guys give you that knowing wink.
Yeah.
When in fact there is nothing. They're not skimming anything because there's nothing to skim.
Okay.
I mean, because everybody wants to believe that everybody's a crook.
Yeah.
But that knowing wink can be, there's nothing there to skim.
Right.
What you have to tell him is, look, I can't deal with whatever you're stealing. I got to go with what the books say.
Right.
And then stick by that.
Okay.
But as I said before, you can tell a lot. If you know the business, you can tell a great deal about that business by the purchases.
Well, I agree with you, and I think there's obviously some numbers that are way out of line. I don't believe his cost of goods is 60% of sales. I mean,
If they are, he's doing something really wrong.
Right, and they are 60% of sales, no lower than 50 in the 3 years of tax returns he showed me.
Well, I'll tell you something. I'd hate to defend that in an audit.
Well, I know that, but I'm just saying that, you're right, and there's something in there that's not right, of course. Maybe he's putting his income in there. I don't know, but I'm just throwing that out.
I don't know either. Anytime somebody gives you that song and dance, you have to look 15 different ways. And 200,000 gross is not much of a. What's it, like soft ice cream?
Yeah.
Yeah. 200 grand is not very much. Not in today's world.
No, it's not.
I do wish you well, guy.
Thank you,
Take good care. And that's true of many a small business, and then oftentimes where that knowing wink really means there is no money here. Lebanon, Ohio, hello.
Hey, Bruce. I've been a long-time listener and enjoy your show. And I've got a question for you. I'm going to be leaving a full-time job, and I have a 401k plan that I'm into.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be going to full-time school because I chose a curriculum that will require me the last year to go full-time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, would it be better if I took the money that I get from that 401k and put it into an IRA, or use it to help get me through the school year?
If it's possible, I would not interrupt it because you get the double whammy, a 10% penalty, and then you have to pay the taxes that you would have paid had they not been deferred.
Oh, okay. I knew I had to pay some taxes when when I pulled it out.
Yeah.
But
there's also a 10% penalty.
Yeah. I wasn't real sure, where. If I was going to have to incur some other taxes on top of that.
Well, it's not taxes on top of that, but it's an out-and-out penalty.
Oh, okay.
Take out $1,000, $100 right off the top.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was kind of wondering about, because, like I said, I could use it, to help the paper stuff.
I can appreciate that, but if there's some way that you can not use it, I think you'd be better off.
Be better off to go ahead and put it.
Well, look at it this way: how much money's in there?
Right now, there's about $5,000, and I'm 60% invested of it.
Well, but if there's $5,000 and you pulled it all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to cost. What did you earn this year?
Right now, around $17,000.
All right, so you're in that 15% tax bracket or something, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we got 750 round numbers. And it's going to cost you $1,250 or thereabouts to pull out the $5,000. That's a tremendous penalty.
Yeah, that's I knew it would be a big one to get hit when it came out.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that if I were you.
Oh, okay. So if I go ahead and roll it into an IRA, it would be
just make certain that you do it appropriately.
Okay.
I mean, you can't touch the money.
Okay.
Otherwise, you're going to be you're hit with that penalty and stuff. It's got to be done right. You decide you want to go, let's say, the Jones Brothers Bank. You tell them they handle the whole transaction. You do nothing.
Oh, okay. And take that and just tell the company I'm leaving to deal with them and.
Look. If you're going to a bank, as an example, they know how to handle it. Trust me on that one.
Okay.
Or if it's a money fund, they know, or a mutual fund, they'll give you the appropriate papers and they'll do the whole thing.
Okay. Well, it'll be a credit union, so
whatever. They'll do it for you.
Okay.
I wish you well, guy.
I appreciate it and enjoy your show.
Thank you very much. WDBO Country, Orlando, Florida. Hello.
Hey, how are you this evening?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Thank you for taking my call today. I have a situation, and I'll start it out by calling one company A and one company B.
There's an original way to do it. Go ahead.
Just for the sake of sanity here. Former employer being company B, prospective employer being company A. I apply at company A for a position open, and first interview goes well. I was given a pre-screen employment personality type deal. Called back and said I scored. I'm sorry, sir.
A personality type deal, you mean?
One of those personality surveys where they time you and they ask you a bunch of questions and see how you would respond to them.
Okay, all right.
All right, I was told I scored the highest in the office. Called back for a second interview with the one higher up boss, the like regional vice president of sales or what have you.
Right.
This is a national company. Good job. Talk to the man, tell him about my background. He interviews me. The gentleman that interviews me initially, who's kind of handling it, who's my contact, if you will, he calls me back and says things went real well with him. He wants me to call your former employer. Now, I gave my direct boss as my reference to my former employer, who, unbeknownst to me, had been promoted to like national sales manager, and he was just a sales manager. So it turns out the company A that I'm applying to is a vendor to company B, who I used to work for. So they have an inside guy there. So the big guy says to the guy I'm applying to, hey, call down to our office in that town of the headquarters of the company and see what Tom can rustle up on me from company B. So they call this guy who didn't work in my department. He was actually a shipping guy, because that's who he dealt with. He was a shipping guy, and he said that essentially he lied. He said I was useless as breasts on a bull. And he said that I overbooked. I was in sales, an account manager, overbooked my accounts to get commissions, which was a false statement, that can be proven. I mean, if I had to, that it was a false statement.
Well, you may have to.
Well, the sales manager of the job I was applying for, job A, took this back to the boss and said, hey, this is unbelievable. Well,
tell you what, take a deep breath, try to get your thoughts together, and we'll pursue this around the corner. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I am chatting with a gentleman in Orlando, Florida. He applied for a job. Things were going well, and then the prospective employer said, well, listen, we got somebody over at the XYZ company we used to work. Let's call him. And that's where things started to deteriorate, right?
Right, and you've got it. I'm glad. So the regional manager that I applied with...
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Did you ever have a run-in with this guy?
No, not.
Did you ever have anything to do with this guy?
Well, I did. I worked with him, and I thought we were amiable. We actually hit the golf ball around a couple of times.
Did you beat him? Did you beat him?
No, I don't beat anybody.
Okay.
The ground.
Go ahead.
So they went ahead and they called my initial reference, who I put on my list.
Right, your former boss.
Yeah, because the guy that interviewed me initially had a very good feeling about me. And he got a very positive, yes, I would rehire him, yes, he went out and got the business, yes. He said he left the company because he changed the pay plan, yes, that is why he left. So the sales manager went to the regional vice president and said, hey, look, this is what I got from the guy's direct boss. And he said that he'd be more than willing to talk to you because thought I was a nice kid, like my family. Well, the big boss says, nope, sorry, we got the inside scoop, it was too bad. He's not a candidate. And this sales manager was so confident that I was going to get hired, I had finished my paperwork, and I did a urine screen because he thought there would be no problem with me being employed because I did so well on my interview with him and my test.
Why do you suppose the other guy is being so...
The only thing I could think of is that he's a shipping man, and he hates seeing salesmen in suits and nice cars. I mean, I might be...
You may be very right.
That's the only thing I could think of because I never knew if I had a problem with him. And, he's loading all this stuff off the dock, and it's just, he doesn't see that these guys are selling stuff and giving him more hours. He sees it as all this new work. And you know, I was just, what do you think? Is it?
I think it's dead.
You do?
Yes, sir.
I took another job, and it pays about $10,000 a year less. Now, I haven't been, libeled, slandered, or... I mean...
He gave his opinion.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, his opinion may be slanted, his opinion may be prejudiced, and all that good stuff, but he gave his opinion. And I don't think you're going to get very far with that one.
No. I'm glad I called you.
I mean, I know that's not what you wanted to hear.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think as a practical matter, there's, you know, what the big guy is saying is, look, we trust our own people more than we trust outsiders, which is not too hard to understand.
Yeah, when I
that
first
trust
thought
may
of
be
that,
misplaced in this case, but that's another story.
Well, when I first thought of that, I thought the company I was applying for, they were kind of using dirty hiring tactics.
Why is that?
Calling an inside guy.
You gotta be kidding me. Anything I can find out about you when you're going to work for me.
Yeah, that's true. And
there's nothing unfair there.
Yeah. What about the fact that he said that I missed, that I overshipped, and like, that seems like it's the most slanderous. The fact that he said that I overshipped my gut, you know, I effectively ripped off my former employer, which is totally false.
I understand. How do you prove he said that?
Well, that's true, because...
I'd put it behind me if I were you.
Yeah, okay.
It's not. Look, this is just an unpleasant fact of life. Is what it comes down to.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's worth trying to figure out, because when I found out, I called the guy that I worked with that took over my accounts after I left.
Right.
And I said, hey, listen, is there any dirty stuff on my books? Because I worked with him for 2 weeks and turned it over. He said, no, nothing. Everything's fine. And I said, well, listen, this is what was said. And he knew exactly who it was. And I said, why? Why do you think he did that?
That's the question. Why?
He says, well, because it sounds like him.
Lovely.
So.
Unfortunately, that's the way things fly sometimes. Klamath Falls, Oregon, hello. Klamath Falls, are you there? Let's take a little time out and get organized. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Roanoke, VA, hello there.
Hey, Bruce. How you doing?
I'm doing real well, thank you.
I can't believe I got through.
It's a cinch. I keep telling people that.
2 nights, but not really so bad, really. Not so hard.
What's up?
Bruce, I'm a long-time listener. Got a problem. Just wanted to run by you. Just a quick scenario. I bought this house, a big 2-story house, real old house, 200 years old, been renovated. Huge rooms, 18 by 18. Trying to figure out what to do with the house. Had my business there, and I do have my business there in 2 rooms.
What kind of business?
It's a manufacturer's representative business.
Oh, okay. You have a little office there then.
Yeah, I just have a sales office.
Right.
And was looking to maybe rent out the rooms to students. I was looking through the classified in the newspaper, ran across an ad, this family of 6 looking for a house, some credit problems, looking for a house in my area. I called them up. I reached out to them. They came to see my house. They're a young couple in their 20s. I have a 3 and a 4-year-old and 1-year-old twins.
Every time I have stuck my neck out for people that have said, we've had a problem, but I've got burned.
Well, my friends tell me that I'm always trying to rescue the world and to quit.
I don't know if I've tried to rescue the world, but on more occasions than I'd like to admit, I have. So, come on, and every time, without exception, I've gotten burned.
Well, the thing I guess that most touched me was that the 3-year-old had my same name, has been through 14 operations because of a birth defect, and that's what caused the couple to have some credit problems, or so I thought.
Well, look, if you want to help them out, go ahead.
Well, when they came to see my house, they really liked it. They painted a picture of themselves as church-going, really good family, together family, well-behaved children, and so forth. And then I wrote up I figured, God, this is so, we have such good communications here, I really don't need a lease. And so I wrote up some points of agreement, some things that they would do. I was going to let them lease the majority of the house for $475 a month when my mortgage is $1,300.
How are you going to handle that? I'm just curious.
The part of it was the husband is a computer whiz ball, and I would have him help me on my computer, and And the wife said she was an organizational whizball, and I need some help in my business. I'm a new business, and that she would give me 2 hours a week of her time. And I felt like it was a win-win situation.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So as they began, they came, they moved in on the 29th of July, and a couple of weeks prior, they came in, grandmother and mother and stepfather and so forth, and everybody's painting and cleaning and so forth, and this different picture begins to emerge of this family that just 1 week prior to coming to see me, they had gone back together after having been separated, the husband having a drinking problem, physically abusive to the wife, different things like that. There's some lying going on. Babysitter for a day, 25 babysitters they've been through. Every day is a different babysitter. A lot of deceit. Husband tells me he paid $8,000 to a private detective to bust a wife in a situation. And so I had a meeting, called a meeting, and the whole family turns up, uncles, aunts, grandparents, against me. It made it out to like I was the bad guy.
Well, first of all, why did you meet with them? You had nothing to do with anybody except this couple. Why would you tolerate that?
Well, the grandmother's managing the money. They don't even manage their own money. She writes the checks. They don't even have a checking account. It's the classic dysfunctional American family, the family from hell that I've inherited here. And so we had the meeting, and and so I agreed that, well, I'll give it a few months, because they made it out like if I was to try to kick the kids out, that they would sue me and they would charge me for all the work they did on painting and cleaning and so forth, and that I would eventually lose, and they would have the squatters' rights and all this kind of stuff. So
you listened to all this?
I listened to all of it, and I agreed to give it a couple of months. So this past Saturday, I have a luncheon appointment. I come back from my luncheon appointment at 12:30, and my office door is closed. I walk into my office, and the 3- and 4-year-old are in my office, and there's really no reason for them to be in my side of the house whatsoever. They have destroyed my office. I call for the babysitter, can't find her. Eventually find her. Go back into my office, look out the window. These kids have thrown out books out the window, proposals and quotations for the following week, presentations that I have to make out the window, my family album, me when I was a little kid out the window. Just literally vandalized my office. And so I guess my question to you is...
I'm curious. What is your question?
My question to you is I just want to get them out of my house.
Call your lawyer.
Yeah.
You're not up to the job.
You always say that.
Well, no, because you're not up to the job.
I'm not. I'm emotionally... I'm having heart palpitations. I never had heart...
You're sitting there, you're telling me that these guys are telling you about squatters' rights and whatever, of which they clearly know nothing. And you're listening.
I'm listening, yeah.
Turn it over to somebody else, and as they said, every time
I'm a wreck.
I've gone for one, and I've done it more times than I would freely admit publicly, I've gotten screwed. Every time. People say, well, if you can be hard-hearted. Yeah. Every single time I've listened to these stories about how, in one case I got almost most of the money, but I got the apartment, and it was an absolute disaster, a pigsty.
Because you went out on a limb.
Yeah, and that was one of the better deals. No more. No, I don't want to hear these stories. If that's the case, there must be a welfare agency you can deal with, but don't come to me.
Yeah.
And if that's the terrible attitude, well, it's a result of having been burned certainly a dozen times or more.
Well, it's just I felt like I've been riding around. I've not been able to work. I've been been overwhelmed with this whole thing mentally and emotionally. And I thought, well, Bruce Williams is the guy. I got to talk to Bruce.
People who are irresponsible are irresponsible. There are some people that just get down their luck. There's no question about that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I understand.
But it's like women who say, well, he's got a drinking problem, and we get married, I'll solve that. If he's got a drinking problem, you aren't going to solve it. Nothing's going to change just by the fact that you get married.
Well, basically, they moved into my house under false pretense.
Well, of course they did.
Picture of me, they painted a picture of how they were, and it turns out that they're not that way.
Well, why am I not surprised? Get some help and learn from the experience.
All right. I'm going to call my lawyer.
I do wish you well, my friend. And you wonder why people stop being nice guys. That's the reason. You just get stuck to you often enough you can't afford to be. Daytona Beach, hello there.
Hello, Bruce. You got to be a nice guy. You just got to be careful, huh?
Well, I guess.
It's interesting. Hey, I need some information from you. My wife has worked for a guy for 4 years, treated her relatively well. Through the first 3 years, worked 45 hours a week. They will not pay her. They did not pay her time and a half. Looks like we're going to be able to, I graduate this year, looks like we'll be able to have her no longer work, and research the Florida statutes and everything. What would you consider a reasonable amount of time? I'm going to send him a letter outlining the statutes and everything.
What do the statutes say?
The statutes say that I, by law, have, I can get the money that he owed her for the time and a half.
You don't have any standing here at all. You mean your wife?
Well, yeah.
Well, no, you got to do it in her name. She has to do it because you have no standing.
Right. Well, that's what I'm going to do. But I'll write the letter and she'll sign it.
Yeah. No.
The statutes say that I can get the back pay. I can put a multiplier of 2 on that. Get 12% interest, court costs, and lawyer fees if it goes that far. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to try to get the multiplier, the interest, and the back pay.
For how long can you go back?
Statute is 7 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. And I've run this by some of my professors at school that are lawyers and like to that.
And what do they say?
They say go for it. In fact, they're handing me their cards. They want in on it. Yeah, they can charge whatever they want because court costs are part of the statute.
Is that right?
What would you consider a reasonable amount of time for a response?
I'll give them 10 days, no more.
10 days?
No more.
All right. Yeah, because they're going to have to go back. We figured it out, kind of put a guesstimate together on the number of hours, and a reasonable guesstimate, not an exaggerated one. Mm-hmm. And
what do you figure?
About $3,000 with the multiplier and interest after taxes.
Well, so the employer's not dealing after taxes.
No, but it's, the pre-tax is about $4,000. Mm-hmm. So they're going to pull out the FICA and all that stuff. But I'm just going to send them a certified letter, and they may, if they fight this, then they're going to have to go back and they have to keep time cards for 5 years. On
what basis could they fight? There are circumstances where you're not entitled to overtime.
If you're a professional.
No, there are circumstances when you're not entitled to overtime, and it's
not for her situation though. Okay, and I agree with you, but there are as an hourly employee.
As an hourly employee, I'm telling you, I got it stuck to me. I thought I was talking just like you are.
Well,
and there are circumstances. I don't want to fight you.
No, and I agree, but
there are circumstances where everything is falling just the way you said, but you don't have to pay overtime.
No.
All right.
Well, no, and that may be, and that's in certain instances that's probably true.
Okay, and this may not apply here at all. I don't know.
And I've talked to several of the lawyers that I'm an accounting major, and some of the business law classes I've had to take. Ran it by various lawyers.
And they all say that she was working 45 hours each week.
During the week.
And that's exclusive of lunch hours and all that sort of thing.
That's correct. And one time she brought up the issue a little bit, and they said, well, that's what all of our bonuses are for. And
do they give bonuses?
Not on a regular basis.
But let's assume, for the sake of discussion, that we took all the bonuses and added them all up over this period of time. How would that balance out?
Probably $500-600. However,
in bonuses, that's it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But they're not titled. I mean, they're Christmas presents, birthday presents, cash here, cash there. But they're not titled as overtime. And on our checks, they're very specific on where the pay is going.
Okay.
And but so you think 10 days would be reasonable enough?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
I mean, then they may come back and say we need more time, but at least you're getting something started.
Yeah. Well, if they start to fight, I'm just going to get an attorney after it and let him deal with it. But I'd rather do it without that.
Of course.
She's been very faithful and very dedicated to these people.
And how they treated her on balance?
They've treated her well. There's other circumstances involved.
What are they?
They spend money like it's going out of the stock.
That has nothing to do with anything.
It does when they can't pay what the law says. And there again, this is a personal.
Yeah, okay, I'm just curious though how they treated her while she was there.
No, they've treated her well. But Bruce, in 4 years, one raise, and all the girls are all the people in the office are the same way. They're afraid to go in and ask for a raise because it's like pulling teeth to get it, and it's.
Well, why do they stay?
For my wife, because she's basically put me through school for the last 2 years, and it's convenient, it's good pay, and she's very dedicated. She's very faithful.
Mm-hmm.
And
what kind of work did she do?
She works as a receptionist.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a goal that will be accomplished in December, and after that time, I said, "You're done. You're done. You're done working." So she supported me basically.
Well, I have no quarrel with that. I just have a little reservation about what you're doing. That's all.
I was close to approaching them now, but it would put her in a very difficult situation.
I understand that.
Why do you have a problem with it?
Well, you're telling me they treated her well, it was a good place to work, and jobs are hard to come by, otherwise she'd have gone somewhere else. Given all that, well, if she's ever looking for work again, I want you to think this one over carefully, because they will go out of their way to see that she doesn't get another job for a long time. Think about that. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Can I do a commercial for a commercial? What I'm getting to is that I would never ask you guys to go out and buy something you didn't want, didn't need. However, if you were going to purchase, let's say, some roofing material or a new car or whatever, maybe a restaurant meal, and you hear it advertised on this station, when you drop in to give that merchant the business, tell him you enjoy the programs on the station and you really appreciate him sponsoring those, and that's one of the reasons why you came in. Because that's what keeps us in business and allows us to bring this kind of programming to you. It's special, it's different. Really, it's important that the advertisers know that you're out there listening and that you're responding. I'm not saying we're going to buy something you don't need, don't want, but if you're going to buy it anyway, why not let the advertiser know that you heard about it on this radio station? I really appreciate that. I would indeed. Our engineer this evening is Dallas Riggin. Ted Schneider is in master control. Randy Meyer is our operations manager. And who else but the redoubtable Dan Rudd is our producer. And if I've forgotten to tell you guys that I really appreciate you supporting the show and hanging in there with us, well, I sure do. Thank you for the hour. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet.
I know it's confusing, but it's...
Well, it's not confusing. It's convoluted rather than confusing.
It turned out to be a great thing. Well, anyway, so when we heard that they were going to do this, we were going to be given a choice of work for, like, a certain hospital or a certain other service that does this. We decided we're going to form our own company. And
what's that going to do?
Which we did. We handed them a contract, which they accepted. So our company had a sweet three-year contract. Because we were already here, and we didn't want to work for somebody else who might lower our wages, etc. Mm-hmm. So our contract said that we would remain here and provide staffing as needed at the same wages that we had already achieved, and that's what has happened. We're less than a year old, our company.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's going along nicely. However, in order to form this corporation, of course, we had to get a board of directors, and we did have...
Why? You don't have to have a board. Come on. To form a company, you have somebody sits down and says, we'll form a company. You don't have to have all those things.
But we had to have it to form a corporation.
Ma'am...
That's according to our attorney.
But it's all done on paper. It means nothing.
Well, anyway, we did that.
All right.
We did that. We chose a board of directors, and we have a corporate attorney, and we have an accountant, which just until recently we didn't find out that he was not a CPA, rather just
He doesn't have to be a CPA.
Oh, okay, well, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. So anyway, we're plugging along on this board. None of us are really business people, but we did form a board, and we chose a person to be president of the board and supervisor of this company. But now things are happening. The board doesn't know a lot of stuff that's going on, and we're thinking perhaps that we should know some of these things.
Like what?
Well, like we don't know, for instance, what we're paying this person that's the president of the company.
What? Maybe you don't know.
We're not being told. She won't tell us.
How can she not tell you?
Well, that's what we're wondering.
I mean, how can she not? You said, I want to see the books. We're the board of directors.
Yeah, well, the books that we see are a very loose group
I want to see the payroll book.
Yeah.
I want to see the paychecks that were drawn last week.
Okay, we can do that, huh?
Of course, but I don't understand why you're making this sound like you're forming a General Motors.
No.
Well, no. I mean, this board of directors caper and submit. It's okay. You can do it. But I mean, I don't know why it's gotten so complicated.
Well, we have a lot of employees.
How many?
Let's see. We have 22 shareholders, and we have over 40 employees.
Well, you got a spare little business there. You make any money?
Oh,
well,
yeah.
How do you know?
Well,
if you can't see the books, how can you answer that question?
Our attorney, assures us that we are. See, we have a shareholders meeting coming up in January.
Yeah.
And this is another thing I want to talk to you about. Just before this meeting comes up, we've all of a sudden been told that we need to amend the bylaws to state that only shareholders will be allowed to be on this board of directors.
Who told you that?
Well,
Who told you that?
One of the shareholders sent a letter in stating that, and we think...
Well, that's not necessarily true.
We think it's kind of self-serving to keep the same people on the board.
Well, I can't deal with that. Well, I mean, it just seems to me you got nobody on the board that has any stomach.
Well, there are two...
You can fire the president.
Yeah, I know that. But
well, fire her if she won't give you the information.
But the president doesn't know that, and we've got some spineless ones on our board. And
you have what, dear?
Some that are rather spineless and won't speak up. There are two of us that feel, these things...
Right. Here, let me cut this off. I don't know what your bylaws call for.
Okay.
It sounds to me like this thing was done, on the one hand, like you were forming a corporation that was going to be huge. On the other hand, it sounds like something done in the back of a mom-and-pop operation. Now, when you're telling me that you as stockholders and board members don't have access to the books, I'm telling you you're not doing something right.
Well, see, that's what we figured, too.
Well, I guess that didn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one out.
Two of us figure that, though. But, I just wanted to get, your ideas.
What I would do is go to the president of the company and say, we're the board of directors. This is the information we want. You have 24 hours to give it to us. If you don't, you're insubordinate and you're canned.
Oh, okay.
Simple.
Okay.
And then I think I'd restructure this whole thing if it were me.
Yeah, well,
There's no reason for all you people to be stockholders either, which is another program, which is maybe part of the problem, or at least voting stockholders. I do wish you well, dear. I'm Bruce Williams. All righty, San Antonio, you've been patient, and I appreciate that. What's happening?
Hi, Bruce. Thanks so much for taking my call.
Well, you're most welcome.
I'm a little confused after that last conversation. I'll try to organize my thoughts.
Well, I'll tell you.
I started a small business last year, mid-year, modifying vehicles for people with disabilities.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine that should be a pretty good enterprise.
It turns out to be more than I expected. It took some different turns, but we could spend hours talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I had quite a bit of business experience, believe it or not, in the military, and thought I was ready for this, but cash flow is driving me nuts. That's something I never dealt with before.
When you say cash flow, what do you mean? Because cash flow ordinarily is defined as cash after all expenses before debt service.
Right.
Is that what you mean? Or do you mean just cheap? No, I didn't think so.
No. What I mean is, keeping the right amount of money on hand and being able to service payables and keep...
Yeah, you don't have enough. You don't have enough to service your... There is no cash flow, or it's a negative cash flow.
Well, no, it hasn't gotten to that. It got close a couple of times, had to borrow some money, but it all seems under control. I'll boil it down to the bottom numbers. For example...
Okay.
Today we owe $132,000 and we've got $153,000 in receivables, and we got about $20,000 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So and we've got all the first of the month stuff taken care of, rent and payroll and all that.
Yeah, but if somebody called all your notes, you're in big trouble.
The good news is that all my notes are with people that I know well and know me well, that have all been to my business and visited and know what we got going, and the good news is that all my receivables are good receivables, government agencies, insurance companies, and solid car dealerships.
Let me ask you this. Have you thought about factoring those receivables?
What do you mean factoring them?
It means you give the receivables to somebody and they pay you in cash discounted.
Oh, yes, sir. I do that.
Okay.
Okay. We've trucked along here. We started off the year with the things that we bought and everything about $50,000 in the hole after the first month.
Mm-hmm.
By the middle of the year, after June, we had wore that down to about $14,000 in the hole. We've had very big months from July through November to where right now we stand $3,000 to the good for the year. Okay, we've had $680,000 in sales and about $480,000.
Hold it. Try that number again. How much in sales?
$680,000.
Yeah.
We had about $480,000 in cost of goods and about $200,000 in operating expenses.
Well, that's about break even. It sounds like
we're $3,000 ahead right now for the year.
That's break even on that.
Yeah.
You're talking about a half of 1%, less than half of 1%.
Right.
Well, that's a mighty thin line.
Yeah, but considering we started the first month 50,000 in the hole, we've been trucking continually upwards. I think.
Okay.
And that's my question. I've never dealt with these kind of numbers before, and they're growing much faster than I thought they would.
And that $200,000 expense, does that mean did you get paid out of that salary
Yes,
of some kind? Okay.
Yes, sir. I pay myself a nominal wage, not near what you have to pay somebody else to do what I'm doing, but taking some money out of the company anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And my question for you is given these kind of numbers, does that look positive to you, or?
Well, you've only been in business for a heartbeat.
Right.
If you're just paying your bills for a short period of time, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think you're doing okay. I'm making an assumption here, and please don't allow me to do that if it's incorrect. But things are getting a little bit easier as you go along.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you started out totally uncapitalized.
Right.
So that's an invitation to disaster to begin with. We both know that.
Right.
But given that, you've gotten past it and you pulled it off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, are there any pitfalls that I need to be, concerned about?
Don't fool yourself.
Right.
Seriously. Oftentimes people will say, "I'm doing this," and they give you numbers, and you take a look and say, "Well, what about?"
Yeah.
As long as you're not kidding yourself.
Yeah.
In terms of your expenses, as an example, it's pretty easy to fix the fixed. You said 400 some odd thousand for parts and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
It's pretty hard to finesse that.
Right.
But in the labor area, you can do some finessing.
Right.
And as long as you're not finessing yourself, it sounds to me like you're doing okay. Factoring receivables can be expensive. If they're as ironclad and as good as gold as you're saying, 5 seconds, what percentage rate are they charging you to factor?
1% a month.
That's 12%. Nah, it could be worse. Good luck. I'm Bruce for Talknet. We're going now to Ottumwa, Iowa. Hello there.
Yeah, hi, Bruce. Thanks for taking my call. I've got a situation. I'm trying to help my son out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's 23 and just got out of the service a while back and going to school. He got some plastic money, credit cards, and got in a little deep on those. And
could you be a little more definitive, a little deep?
He's got them all to the max.
Well, what does that amount to?
Well, he's got a car loan. I co-signed for a car loan for him. He bought a car out in New Jersey where he was stationed. They had a lot of problems and stuff, and so he got rid of that car and got a brand new one, and the bank back home loaned him the money, and
without your signature?
With me signing for him.
Well, they loaned you the money.
Well, yeah, and he had some credit card bills at that time, and he consolidated everything, put it all into one loan, and was going to take care of it. And he told his mother and I that he, got rid of his credit cards and didn't have anything like that. And about a year or so later, come to find out he's got another probably about $7,000 in credit card bills. And
he's lying to you.
Yeah, he's got about $13,000, on this other loan that he owes, and so he's right around $20,000.
All right. How much are you in for? Right now?
I just on the loan at the bank is about $13,000.
Is the car still around?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The car is still around.
What kind of shape is that in? And so forth?
It's a '92 Geostorm, and it's low miles and real.
I have no idea what that's worth today. What is
I don't know either. I'm not sure what it's worth, but I don't think it's worth anywhere close to what
he owes on it.
Right. It's not. It's probably maybe $7,000, $8,000 at the most. I would guess.
How did he get that upside down?
Well, I don't know. He's got a taste. He's always had to have name brand this and name brand that.
Yeah, but I'm asking how he got that upside down in the expense item on this thing.
Well, like I say, they loaned him some money to pay off credit cards.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
On top of it.
All right, so you're on the hook for $5 or $6 net grand on that.
Yeah, and what he did is he answered an ad in a magazine, a place advertised that they could, consolidate your loans and help people out. They found, it was a service. They'd find somebody that would loan them the money.
Yeah, you believe that? You believe it's Santa Claus.
And he told me about it, and I told him, I says, if they ask you for any money, don't send it. Don't send them any money. Well, he got the application, he filled it out, and they didn't ask for any money, so he sent it in, and then he got a letter back saying that he'd been approved, and he didn't show me this before he sent away, but he ended up sending away the first month's payment.
Yeah.
$320. And he was supposed to get money in October.
He's not going to get any money.
Right. We've come to that conclusion. I did some calling. I called the postal inspector, and they didn't have anything on record on the name of this group that was doing this. But the address in San Diego, they had about 3 or 4 complaints on things at the same address. And I got the paperwork from him that he had, and come to find out that the finder or the loan finder or whatever they were called, you'd call them, had the same address as supposedly this financial institution that's loaning him the money.
The thing is, look, he's been trimmed for are you going to worry about that?
Well,
I wouldn't worry about that. I start worrying about your son's $20,000 worth of debts. Kiss that money away. It's gone.
He's talked about going bankruptcy.
Yeah, well, how does that help you?
Well, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you how. It puts you right in a hole.
Yeah, as he was going to go Chapter 13 and continue to pay his bill on his loan on the car, the $13,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
And talking to the bank recommended that he go Chapter 7 and reaffirm his debt with them.
Well, they got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Don't you understand why?
Yeah, because they're going to get me.
You got it. The reaffirmation of debt is smoke and mirrors.
Uh-huh.
And what they're saying is, yeah, dump everybody else so maybe we'll get paid.
Uh-huh.
Which maybe is not the worst advice in the world. How old is this kid?
23.
You're going to have to cut him loose, Daddy.
Yeah, I know. And that's why I'm just trying to give him some advice. Financially, I'm not helping him out.
Well, he was stupid to send this money. He wants to believe that there's still a big daddy out there who's going to bail him out.
Yeah, that's right. That's kind of what we thought, and we were really.
And I'd be willing to gamble. I'd be willing to gamble with you that ad that you talked about doesn't say what he says it said.
Yeah, I don't know. I never seen the ad.
I'd be willing to bet you almost anything on that. And I don't mean he's lying to you in this case.
Yeah.
He didn't read it correctly because they are written to be deliberately misleading.
Uh-huh.
And unless you're fairly astute, you're not going to see it, particularly if you want to see something else.
Yeah, well, some of the things that I got to looking through some of the letters, they wanted him to send, not to send a check, but send a money order.
Come on, will you?
That's probably a way to not
the bigger problem here is to determine what you're going to do about this, the upside down in a car.
Yeah.
And the chances are your best bet, you have 2 possibilities here. One, let him go belly up.
Mm-hmm.
And if he wants to reaffirm, fine. If he doesn't, you're stuck either way. Then you got to make a choice whether you want to try to let him keep making payments in the car, and eventually you'll get out from under, or you want to take the big hit.
Yeah.
Now, if as long as he's willing to make payments and able to make payments, I'd probably let him go that route. Because eventually, if he keeps it up, you'll get out from under.
Yeah. Well, that's what we were thinking basically there too, because we're not in a position to take that. I got transferred a year ago, and my family's up in the northern part of the state, and
right.
I'm down here he goes to school down here in Ottumwa. And
is he working?
Yeah, he's been working. His hours just got cut because he was working at a shoe store, and they wanted him to quit school and go, follow the management trail with them. And he didn't want to quit school. He's studying to be a physical therapist assistant. And he's got a job lined up for him as soon as he graduates. So,
well, I'm not going to fight that. But in the meantime, I think it's probably time for him to consider a bankruptcy.
Yeah.
The reaffirmation is only for your benefit.
Yeah.
But if he can hang on to the car and keep making payments, at least sooner or later you're off the hook. But I wouldn't give it a nickel. I'd tell him to stop believing in the tooth fairy.
Yeah, and that probably would help him in some ways if he did reaffirm it and make.
That's not going to help him in the slightest. He's in real trouble credit-wise for a long time.
Yeah.
And as he should be.
Right. And hopefully, I don't know if he's learned or not.
Well, that's another story. That's a whole other.
Know.
We can talk about that another time.
Yeah, right.
I do wish you well, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. How do these kids get this far deep? Well, he said it. Dad said it, I guess. He said, he has to have all the brand names. Hello. This is Talknet. Let's go to Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, and see what's happening. Hello there.
Hi, Mr. Williams. Thank you for taking my call.
Well, you are very, very welcome.
I've listened to you for a number of years, and I'm truly honored to be able to talk with you this evening.
Well, thank you.
My husband and I are looking at a house that was up for sale about 3 months ago and was taken off the market.
Why was it taken off the market?
I believe the price was a little bit high for some of the work that was needed.
Well, that usually is low the price. You don't take it off the market.
Well, the owner is an elderly gentleman who lives in Florida, and what he had decided to do, and we just found out recently actually last night, because the realtor called us to let us know, was that he is willing to sign a lease with an option to purchase. Now,
is that what you want to do?
Well, we've been looking for homes for about 2 years now, and we are interested in one that is possible to come up for sale by owner. But yes, we are interested in this home.
Well, why are you having in 2 years in today's world? Why is it difficult to buy a house? Do you have a credit problem, income problem?
No.
What then?
Probably just getting our goals straight. Which, we've lost some time on it, but now we're ready to go, and we see the pot at the end of the rainbow here now.
But what I'm trying to get to, my dear, is why are you thinking about a lease? If you're ready to buy, why don't you buy?
Okay, well, that's a good question.
No, give me a good answer. What I'm trying to get to is right now. Let's ask the elementary questions. Are you planning on staying there in is it Fort Mitchell, right?
That's correct.
Are you planning on staying in Fort Mitchell or the area for quite a while?
Yes, but right now we can't quite afford a home that we would see ourselves in, 5 to 10 years from now. We'd like to start off in a smaller one.
Well, that's fine.
We should avoid this option and go in.
Well, wait a minute. I didn't say that necessarily. What I'm trying to get to is show me some advantages to you. Let's talk about, fundamentals. How much do you guys earn?
$44,000.
That's together?
Mm-hmm.
How much do you have to put down?
For the price ranges that we've been looking at 10%, at least 10,000 actually.
Well, 10,000 would be 20% or close to it.
Close to it, right.
Hold it. You have 10. Forget about this home.
Okay.
You got 10 grand to put down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what price range would you find comfortable in your part of the world?
We would like to stay. We're looking no more than 110 maximum.
Well,
I've always learned we have no other debts.
All right. How old are you guys?
34.
Children?
No. Hopefully soon.
How long have you been married?
5 years.
How come you haven't been able to put a little more money aside?
Well, we have been able to put a little bit more money aside. That would be the minimum that we would put down.
Well, how much money do you have put aside? Not counting pensions.
Not counting pensions, but
pensions are not available to you.
Close to 20.
Well,
my husband was off work for a couple of times during that time.
Mm-hmm. All right. I just think that maybe you ought to start looking at a house a little bit lower priced.
Okay. And that's what this is, and I guess that's...
Well, that's a big spread between 110 and 40 something.
Oh, no, this...
Did you say this house was? Did you say this house was 40 something?
No, I thought you asked how much we earned together. Now, the home itself would be $80,000. But the reason that we were considering it is because we saw some advantages to this, and that the house needs some work cosmetically, and the value of the home we feel would increase with some minor.
All right, how much was he asking for the house?
$80,000.
But it didn't sell for $80,000.
That's correct.
Will he take less?
Well, he wasn't interested in taking less. No.
All right, let's
what
stop.
we learned from the realtor, he wasn't really going down, and he realized.
All right. He's not. Well, just take a deep breath. He's not going down. Now, if you rent the place, what would the option price be?
Well, that's my question.
No, I'm asking you. You got to tell me. What is the option price? He's the one who sets that, and you're the one who agree or disagree to it. You got to do it, but you got to do it in advance. How much?
Right. Well, basically, we feel like.
No, not basically how you feel. I want to know what the option price is.
And counsel with the realtor, $69.
Well, if he'll give you an option at $69, why won't he sell it to you at $69?
Well, it's most likely that he would, and we would advance into that, relatively short period of time.
Why don't you just I'm looking for an advantage in this option, and you haven't pointed any out to me.
Well, okay. What we feel that the advantage would be is that because the owner lives out of state and is not really willing to come in and have any active involvement in the property itself, we did tour the house, and we firmly believe that the home is worth, with a few minor repairs, $80,000. But we were concerned about the furnace. And
what has all this got to do with the price of tea?
Well, we thought that if we were to be in the home as rental tenants, and we found that during that time, like within 30 days probably, we would certainly go in and make an offer, but within 30 days, if we found that the furnace, which hasn't been run for 9 to 12 months, was in poor repair, we feel that would be...
That's nonsense.
Nonsense? Okay, well that's...
Here's the thing, seriously. I'm not saying that the furnace shouldn't be checked, don't misunderstand me. And it's also, listen, hear me out. And it's also true that when you live in a place, you find all the pimples. There's no question about that as well. But the fact remains is if you want to rent a place, then go ahead and rent. How much rent are they talking about, by the way? How much a month, or haven't we established that either?
Yeah, $375, which is less than what we're paying now.
Well, the $375, it's a steal.
Exactly, we know that.
No, wait a minute. No, hold it. Take a deep breath. Okay. It's a steal if it's worth what you're telling me it's worth. But I don't know what it's worth. I know it's not worth $80,000. It's not worth 80. Well, I know it's not worth 80, because if it was worth 80 in 2 years, somebody would have bought it at 80. So we know it's worth more than $1 and less than 80,000. That's all we know right now. Have you had it appraised by anyone who knows what they're doing?
Well, we would have an appraiser. I do have a contact.
But this is all we will. How can you make decisions, my dear, unless you do these things in advance and spend some money?
We really didn't have the opportunity to do this in advance. This opportunity just came up last night. So it would be, immediate action. I mean, we're ready to, go in tomorrow and say we would, first of all, want an appraisal and an inspection, and also to have an attorney that I have lined up.
Yeah, all this is fine. You're going to pay for this, but until such time as he agrees to some numbers, this whole thing is not worth discussing.
Well, I guess my question was, do we go in on it, with...
If you could get a lease option for $300 and change a month,
right, and
the house is worth $70 or $80,000, get a lease for about 60 years.
Well, no.
It would be cheaper than buying.
It's only a 6 months as far as...
Then that's all right. He's just blowing... He's accommodating you, hoping you'll do something. Okay. What I'm trying to get to is, if you could lease it for $350 a month, right? It would be better to lease it forever than to buy it.
Exactly. But
he's not going to do that.
Right.
Okay. would seem to me, if you want to live there for a couple of months, go ahead. It's a freebie.
Well, no.
But I think you're obscuring the whole thing. You walk in, you find out first of all what it's worth. We don't know that. You're concerned about the furnace. You being there for 30 days, not going to tell you a thing unless it's inspected by someone who knows furnaces. And that's true of any other shortcomings there may or may not be. But as far as the lease option routine, all that, well, I just don't think there's any great advantage to you other than you get a chance to look it over. If you don't like it, you can move out. But the big thing is establish what it's worth, because we don't know that yet, and that's important. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Let's go to Ridge Crest, California. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
I received a letter from the IRS requesting information or copies of returns for the years 1979, 1980, and 1988.
79?
Yes. That's that was my reaction. I have 1988, no problem.
Right.
Readily available. The other years, because I haven't thrown any of those records out, I know I have somewhere, but they might be in Texas where I lived prior to moving out.
Why are they asking for this? Do you have any notion?
They indicate in the letter that they believe that I didn't file for those years, although I have consistently, I think every year except one, received a refund from them.
Well, it's only a question then of proving that you filed. Is that the story?
Yes.
Well, I suspect I'd go ahead and prove it then.
Okay.
I don't know that they can go back that far.
Well, that was my question. I think that the years 79 and 80 are unreasonable in that for me to find those records, I believe I'm going to have to go back to Texas to my mother's house to.
Well, there's no statute of limitation on fraud. Let's start with that.
Okay.
So if they allege fraud, they can go back forever.
Okay. All right, and not filing would be fraud, right?
I would think, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so
isn't there some way your mom can go? I mean, you're calling from
California.
Where? California.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be nice to come back and visit your mother for the holidays.
Wasn't planning to, but
well,
I guess that might.
You may have to.
Okay, so
I wasn't aware they could go back that far, and I suppose.
Well, in the income tax booklet, it indicates that you're to keep the records for 5 years.
I certainly couldn't find my returns. I don't think for the 70s.
Yeah.
Maybe they're there. My accountant knows. I don't know.
Right.
But I certainly pitched a lot of stuff from that period because if I didn't, I mean, unless we had capability of putting it in a computer or something, we'd have to move.
Right.
We have no space.
Or microfiche or whatever.
And I know most attorneys purge their records after about 7 years.
Right.
But the easier line of resistance might be the way to go. My inclination would be to contact them and ask them exactly what they're looking for and why. But if you have to go back to Texas, well, give Mom a big kiss, and she'll be kind of glad for the IRS, which is a whole other program. I do wish you well. Letters from the IRS. It turns a tough guy's blood to lime jello. I'm Bruce. This is Talknet. I was thinking about that lady's call about the Maserati, and I got my current copy of the December issue of Hemmings Motor News out. Boy, the prices jump all over the lot. If you want a 63 Maserati 3500 GT convertible, it's a beauty in here for $82,500. And yet, there's an 86 Bioturbo Spider for only $11,000, and I saw another one here for $8,000. I don't understand why they bop all over the place. 89 at $19,000, a 90 at a convertible at $22,500. And yet there's some others, and here's an 85 for $6,900. I thought they were more expensive, and yet some of them here are kind of high priced. The older ones in the 60s and 70s are bringing pretty good dough. What happened to the 80s, I wonder? Anyway, let me see. Anchorage, hello there.
Hello.
Hi.
It's cold where we are today.
It is. I know up the street from you in Fairbanks, it was like 40 below a couple days ago. How cold is it where you are?
I think it's a mere 0 today.
Oh, my goodness gracious.
Balmy weather.
I love Alaska in the summertime. What's happening?
A quick scenario. 2 years ago, my husband and I finally purchased 3 cash registers, scanners, and scales for our business.
They froze.
No, and a software package.
Okay.
It was first brought to our attention from the company representative. He actually works for the company. He's not a dealer. He's not a manufacturer's rep. And he came with the dealer, okay, and he presented a package to us for these products, including a software package. Well, time was getting closer, and it wasn't ready. We found out the man who was doing it had passed away, the actual programmer, and so it was kind of put on the back burner. The cash registers were ready, but this software package wasn't. Finally, the dealer...
Well, just give me back up. What kind of business is for?
We're a natural food store.
I'm sorry?
A natural food store.
Okay, but a grocery store of sorts.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I was just trying to get an idea of the number of products that had to go through and so forth. Go ahead.
Probably 8,000 to 12,000.
You have that many in stock?
Yes, sir.
All right, but then they're all barcoded.
No. Anyway.
No?
So,
Are they?
I'm sorry. The no wasn't for you. What did you say, Bruce?
I said, are they barcoded?
Probably 95%.
Okay.
So that's why the scanner was important for us.
Yes, that's why I asked the question, love.
Okay. Okay. So anyway, we get going, and he comes to us at the last minute and says, well, this particular package isn't ready, but somebody else has stepped in and made another software package, and it's up and running and ready. So we signed the paperwork, got the lease in order, and here 2 years later, the software is working better than it was, but it's still not 100%. And the cash register is showing many signs of problems. One day it'll say, for instance, I did $5,200. That's what the tape will come through at the end of the day, that great Z tape that we all wait for.
Yeah.
And yet on it has a cashier's report, it has a department report, etc. Well, they'll differ. They won't say the same numbers.
Well, that's something obviously dramatically wrong.
I understand that. And so my husband has been on the phone several times with the dealer, and even we've gone kind of, I guess you should say, above the dealer's head and have gone back to the main company, and we've talked to the programmers of the software, which is a different company entirely.
Well, let's back up, shall we?
Okay.
Is the problem very definitely in the software?
The only software the software that we bought from them was the communication.
No, that wasn't what I asked.
Okay.
Is the problem definitively by somebody, because I wouldn't know.
Okay.
I know we have some businesses where we have these very sophisticated cash registers that cost us like $7,000 or $8,000 a station, and we have, several stations. I wouldn't know how to use one of those. I know that, but I do know that you can have a problem with the register itself, or with the software that does its thinking for it, for lack of a better term. Now, what I'm trying to get to is, have you definitively determined?
Software.
Yeah, that's the question.
Well, for the longest time, we thought it was software only. Now, the software still has its glitches, but now we're coming with this other problem where it's giving us two different totals for the day. It's definitely in the hardware. But when we talk to the dealer and back to the main company, okay?
When you say main company, you mean manufacturer?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
They're telling us that everything is right. I mean, they actually sent two company reps up from a show in San Francisco here about 3 months ago. They came up, looked at our machine, and said, it's doing everything it should be doing. And they walk out the door, and 3 days later, it does this same glitch. And we've sent them the paperwork, we've faxed it to them.
What you're telling me is you have an intermittent problem.
Yes, and they're technically saying it doesn't exist.
Well, I mean, but let's separate things. Intermittent problems are extraordinarily difficult to diagnose. Because, on one of my cars, I have a problem on my car. That on one display only lights up part of the time, and it just won't perform every time I bring it in to have somebody look at it. And without it performing in front of them, they got a real problem figuring out what the problem is. And this is very possibly what's happening here. Hold on now.
Okay.
When the problem develops, could you afford to shut the system down right there and hold it until somebody shows up?
When we close up.
Well, then fine, but if you shut it down at that point, the problem is still there, is it not?
On a piece of paper, yes, it's still
only on a piece of paper. But the next day, if you after you go through the Z procedure, it might be perfectly okay the next day.
That's correct.
I don't know what to tell you.
But I guess what my problem is Bruce, I'm not asking you to fix the problem, and because I understand that your ability and mine are neither one of us understand all the computer stuff.
Well, how much money you got tied up in this stuff?
$27,000.
No, in case I would call the manufacturer and say, it appears to me. Listen to me.
Okay.
It appears to me that we have a hardware problem. You have not demonstrated definitively that we have not. Now, you took $27,000 worth of my money, and it's not delivering. Now, we may not be successful, but we're going to have to let a judge decide. Now, this is not a threat, but since you give us no satisfaction, we're perfectly agreeable to you taking this stuff back and giving us replacement. Replacing the hardware with brand new equipment. If that works, then we will agree. Or if it still screws up, we'll agree. Give us our old stuff back and put the software back in again, and the problem is not with you guys. But until you, how often does the problem develop?
It can happen twice a month, and then it won't happen for 2 months.
All right, so it certainly would happen 3 times, I would say once in a 6-month period. Would that be?
Definitely.
Then why don't you propose to them that they replace the equipment on an interim basis for 6 months? If the problem does not recur in the 6-month period, does not recur, that would be evidence that the problem is in their equipment. On the other hand, if it continues to appear, then that would be evidence the problem is in the software.
Okay, that's about what we felt that we were.
And you say if we can't work that out, we'll have to see if a judge would see it our way.
Okay. Can I ask one other quick question?
No, there's another possibility. We got to go the other route now. How about the software manufacturer?
We've communicated with them, and every time we found out later that we were actually in what they call beta testing, meaning that it really hadn't gone out there to the public to be used. We were kind of the guinea pig, or at least one of the guinea pigs. And when my husband, we found out other people that had it, and none of them were trying to use it to the full extent of what it was presented to us to be used. And so none of them were coming up with all the same glitches. Oh, this one had one glitch, and that one had a glitch, but not all of them because they weren't using all the different facets of it.
But that's 2 years ago. How about now?
Still, we got their latest version less than 3 months ago. Every time they
just hold on.
I'm sorry.
Anytime when you put the new software in.
Yes, sir.
Was there any change in the frequency or the nature of the errors?
Yeah, they kind of change colors and coats. You know what I'm saying? That they do something a little different. But it's just what it is. I guess the main line is it's still bad data or incorrect data at various intervals.
Yeah, but I'm
not answering your question. I'm sorry.
Well, no, not at all. What I'm trying to get to is if you put in a new software package, does the mistake continue to occur exactly the same way, or is it a different mistake?
No, it's
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Oh, yes, I do. I really do. Sometimes that mistake will show up for a while, and it changes color of the coat. It does something different.
Changes the color? What does that mean?
I mean, it does. Okay. We put in new software.
Okay.
And usually,
well, let's go back.
That problem will not come back.
That's what I want to know.
It will do something a little different.
Yeah, but then it would appear maybe the problem is in the software.
But when you get a company that they say, okay, this is a package, this is the software that will make it all, communicate from the back room to the front room.
You bought the thing from the same people.
That is correct.
Everything came from the same people.
You got it, and they
so take it. Hold on. Forget what they bought everything from them.
Okay.
And there were representations made that this product would do in concert, working together, a team of horses and a wagon would get the merchandise across the whatever. And it's not happening. It's really not your concern whether it's the software or the hardware.
No, it's not.
Well, the dealer, is he solvent?
This is questionable. He was very helpful in the beginning.
Solvent is my question. Is he solvent? Does he have money?
I don't think, not a lot. I mean, we thought about putting his name in there.
Well, of course. He's the guy that you did business with.
Yeah.
Well, as I say...
I don't think he's worth a lot to be honest.
Well, and you got to go after the deep pockets. That's the manufacturer. I don't even like that attitude, but I don't like to recommend that, but that seems to be the only way to go. I would tell these folks, look, I want completely new hardware and software. You guys sold me this stuff. Now, if you can't do that, we're going to have to see if a judge sees it our way. And then I would hit them with a summons and let a judge decide. And, of course, you have to be represented by counsel with the amount of money we're talking about here.
Bruce, I have one other quick question that goes with it. We've paid a gentleman, a programmer, to work on this, and he's helped with a lot of things for the last 2 years. It's been to the tune of about $52,000.
You paid an extra $22,000 for the programmer? You said you spent $27,000.
Well, 27 plus I have paid him I have paid him $26,000 for the last 2 years.
This is the same guy that sold you this stuff.
No. This is a separate contract individual.
Why did you go outside to do that?
Because he had to specialize it to our business.
Boy. I want you to hold on. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. I'm chatting with a lady in Anchorage, Alaska, and I was at the end of that little segment, and I really wanted to take another 30 seconds, and that's about all. You mentioned that you bought this computer system for your store, and then you spent $20,000 on a software writer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand that. Why would you buy the system without the appropriate software to begin with? What you're talking about is a pretty straightforward, common system. If it's a grocery store, it's a grocery store. Whether it's health foods or not, what difference does it make? You run them across the scanner and it shows.
I understand that there were some things that he was trying to get the computer to do that, or the software to do that we had been told it would do. And
well, why would you pay him extra to do what you had already paid for?
I guess just because it had to be, I can't think of the word I want, just made more specialized to fit our thing because of the different, we don't buy from one vendor to take all the vendor's discs in and change them and get the information out of them that we needed to have.
Mm.
Some of it I think has been in excess. I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But for the first 6 months of it probably would have been stuff that would have been needed. And then since then it's just been because of all the problems.
It just seems to me at this point you got to spend a little more money.
Okay.
Because I don't think you know what's going on, and I certainly do not. And I was thinking at the break, and wouldn't recommend her specifically, but my daughter-in-law is a computer consultant. This is the kind of stuff that she does.
Okay.
Because in troubleshoots, and I have to believe there are people in your area who do the same thing. And in order for you to mount an attack on the manufacturer, and maybe even on this software writer that you hired, you're going to have somebody who is knowledgeable, knows this industry, and say this was done right and this was done wrong. Clearly, something was done wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't imagine that other people... Well, I'll tell you something. Happened to one of my businesses, my blood pressure would be right off the curve.
Well, that's kind of where my husband's is.
Well, I don't blame him. He and I are good friends.
Yes.
Because it's just no reason for this happening. But at this point, it's still amateur night, certainly for me, and I think it is for you, too.
That's right.
I think that since you've already invested over $50,000, I'd spend a couple, $3,000 on a consultant who knows computers, somebody who's worked for one of the big manufacturers, for Apple or IBM or for Microsoft, or somebody that really knows the seams to the coat, and let them dispassionately look over what's been provided to you, what has been done for you, and see where the glitch is. But it's difficult for me to believe that you can't get a computer scanning system that would work in a retail environment with a lot less hassle than you guys have had.
I agree.
And I understand what that Z number is. When that doesn't come out, you go crazy. I do wish you well there, but I would certainly consider getting a consultant in there. Cincinnati, hello there.
Yeah, hi Bruce. This is Sidney from Cincinnati.
Sid from Cincy.
How you doing?
Okay, kid.
Good. It's a pleasure to talk to you. I got a question on it's got maybe 2 or 3 parts to it.
Let's talk.
You ready?
I'm sitting on the edge of my chair.
Okay, good. Give you a little bit background. There are 4 or 5 different, or rather my friends who are trying to put up a printing business. Some are up north.
What kind of a printing business?
Commercial business. That's the area that we're trying to concentrate.
Well, could you be a little more specific?
Well, as far as printing maybe brochures or...
Well, I mean, are we talking about letterpress? Are we talking about offset? Are we talking about what?
Offset, and I think letterpress also. I'm not exactly familiar with all the terms that is involved, but 3 out of 5 people are been in the business for about over 20 years, so they all know about everything that there is to know about the printing.
All right.
My question has to do about the contract itself, that once we all agree as far as how much money we want to put in, what is the best arrangement that I could have, or basically maybe all of us could have?
Well, it's got to be all of you, not just you.
Right.
But what are each of you contributing?
it's all different amount. I guess.
Well, no, the amounts are only part of it. Expertise is probably as or more important. And are some guys going to work on a full-time basis? Or are others just going to put money in and lay back and hopefully watch it grow? What are we talking about here?
Okay. Maybe, okay, let me give you a little background. My background comes mostly financial and the management area. And three of the other people we have production management and salespeople.
But hold on, are you going to work in the business?
Yes.
Full-time?
Full-time.
How about the other guys? All of them full-time?
Yes.
Okay, so you're all going to be in there slugging it out.
Right.
How much money are you guys going to put into this thing?
We're trying to gather up between all five of us maybe about 150, and then we're trying to sell some stock to relatives and friends, another 150 or 200,000.
Boy, it gets a little convoluted, doesn't it?
Yeah, but and we trying to loan another, I guess about 650, 700,000.
Well, and you're putting in only seed money.
Is that not a good idea, or?
Well, it's good if you can bring it off. I don't know why anybody would want to loan you money. You're going to put up 150 grand between you, and you want to get close to $1 million to support it.
Right.
Well, isn't that nice? I think I hope it works out. I don't think it's going to, but I hope it does.
Well, what makes you think it wouldn't happen?
Well, I'm an investor now, right?
Right.
Convince me.
Well, I guess...
You got a brand new business, no customers, and you're putting no money into it, but you want my money.
Oh, we are putting about 150, 200,000.
That's peanuts. 150 between you. 5 guys, I think it was?
Right.
That's $30,000 apiece.
And you don't
if things don't work out, you take a hike and say, well, I lost 30 grand. It was a big night at the crap table. And I'm holding the bag. You'd have a hell of a time selling me on that deal from an outside investor.
Well, but if...
Not unless I loved you.
I guess the whole point is we do have a lot of experience in the market.
Without regard to that, you're putting no money up.
You don't think that's enough?
No, sir. Not to convince me to put my money in. I'm saying, if you guys are so smart, put your money where your mouth is. You're going to say, we don't have it. I thought, if you're that smart, how come you don't have any money?
Well, I guess we got to start somewhere, don't we?
Yeah, but I think you're starting off a little big. I mean, isn't it nice to want to borrow $1 million? I think everybody'd like to start out that way.
But the bank has already agreed to do that, too.
To loan you $600,000?
Absolutely.
Well, let me tell you something. Well,
we've gone through the SBA, and everything is almost...
To our nation's capital, WRC country, Washington, D.C. Hello there.
Hi, Bert.
Hi.
Never thought I'd ever call you. I've listened to you for years.
Oh, I'm pretty happy that somebody calls. What's on your mind, guy?
Okay. I'm a graduate student here, and I have a small, unfortunate problem. Last year in October, I went to a car dealer, and my steering rack was leaking. So they told...
Your what was leaking?
The rack pinion, the steering rack.
Oh, rack and pinion, okay.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They did the diagnostics, and they told me how much it would cost me. It was about $600, and I told them, go ahead and put it in.
Mm-hmm.
Today, I was at another dealer. By the way, at that time, that dealer was changing ownership. It was being bought. But they told me they still sell the parts of my car and service.
How old a car?
It's an 87.
All right.
And but the invoicing and the names had changed to the new dealer's name. So today I had gone to another dealer for an exhaust pipe problem.
Mm-hmm.
And when they put it up on the rack, they said, whoa, your exhaust is the least of the problems. Your rack is leaking on both sides. I was like, wait a minute. How long do these things last? I just had it replaced about a year ago. And they told me, well, it really shouldn't be, because it's been 14 months now, a year and 2 months. They said to give you an idea of the longevity of these kind of parts, there are some dealers which will give you a lifetime warranty. And
yeah, but they didn't give you a lifetime warranty.
No, they did not.
And nobody asked them to.
Exactly. It was 1 year or 12,000 miles. But the thing is, when they told me to take it back, so when I went through my files and got the invoice and took it back to the dealer, the guy told me that at that price of $600, it could not have been an original part for my car. It must have been an aftermarket.
In other words, you couldn't do it for $600.
No, it's about $1,100 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't even consulted to be told whether I should take a choice between an aftermarket or not. I was made.
Did you ask?
Believe.
Did you ask specifically?
Oh, I mean, I went to the dealer because I knew they were going to put in an original part for that.
No, well, apparently they didn't put an original part. So I'm asking the question.
No, I didn't ask. No. Because I didn't. I mean, if I wanted, I could have gone to one of these other places, gone to a gas station.
Yeah, but
for me.
Hold on, though. That's all. I'm not disagreeing that you could have done all those things. But in the absence of asking on a 8-year-old car, I don't know that would be unusual to put an aftermarket part in.
Wouldn't they give you a choice at least?
They might, but I don't know that they're required to give you a choice. Is what I'm trying to get to.
Oh boy.
Now maybe they are. I don't. You're going. See, you're taking the position, and it may not be a bad position. I went to a dealer. I anticipated and had no reason to believe that dealers would use anything but original equipment. Right. That's your position. I don't know if it's a good position or not. Their position could be, look, he brought in an old piece. He was a student. There was no point even discussing original equipment because that car wasn't worth putting original equipment in. In our opinion, how old a car? 8 years old. What's that car worth right now?
About $5,000.
All right. They may say putting that kind of money into a $5,000 car, putting $1,100 into the front end, too much money. That could be their opinion. I don't know if it's a valid one or not.
So according to you, you don't think I have much recourse here?
I don't think so. Not 12 months later or 14 months later.
Okay.
That's just my opinion. Go back. You can go after them. But I'm just giving you my... Look, I could sit here and stroke you and say, go for it and be a cheerleader. But that would be disingenuous because I don't believe that.
Right. Because I was going to see the manager tomorrow, and I was wondering...
You go talk to him. By all means, you have nothing whatever to lose.
Okay.
But if you want me to say, boy, I think you're absolutely right, I can't do that.
Okay, well...
I'd go back to them, ask them what their position is, and see what they have to say.
Okay. Well, at least I know what my expectations are.
Well, not necessarily. I'm just telling you my opinion. I wish you well, guys.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks a lot for your call. From Washington, we go to Corning, Arkansas. Hello.
Hi.
Hello there.
I have a problem with these starling birds.
And who? With what? Starlings?
Uh-huh.
Were they making too much noise?
No, they've invaded my yard. You can't... they're here by the thousands.
Mm-hmm. But they're just passing through.
No, they stay all winter.
Do they really?
They did. We bought this place and moved here in March, and they were here when we moved here. And they said that this was the first year that they had them, and they've come back. Our neighbor down the road, he shoots them, but I don't think that, you can't kill them by the thousands if you stood out there and shot all night.
Well, forgetting the killing them, do they respond to noise?
Yes. They fly up and circle around and come right back.
Well, there are 2 or 3 things you might want to consider. One of them is they have, of course, your neighbors will love you. They have things that sound like shotguns. They're air driven. They go off every so often. Another thing you might want to consider is buying a couple of replica owls. Because most birds are scared to death of owls because, as you know, owls are carnivorous, and they this is lunch coming out on a wing.
Mm-hmm. Now they can be like them. I saw some in a store, that were like the blow up kind.
Yeah,
anything.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
The birds don't like those very much, and of course they do sell these little guys. I don't know quite where you get one, but I suspect if you ask around, a hardware dealer could find one for you. Or maybe an Agway type store, where every so often this compressed air thing makes a noise, a very, very violent noise.
Mm-hmm.
Like a shotgun going off.
Right.
Nobody gets hurt, no harm. But they're invading your place, huh?
Yeah. We have a car lot, and after dark, when you drive onto it, if you get too close to the trees, you think it's raining, but it's not rain.
Yeah, boy. Well, there's another thing that you could any kind of a motion thing would disturb these guys, would it not?
Yeah, when we come in from church or something, we'll stand up there and we'll clap our hands, and we really bug them, but they just circle and come back.
Well, I understand that, but if you had the birds up in the tree there, and you were to string wires up there with something on to make noise, bells or cans with little stones in it or whatever, and put something on the other end to activate those from time to time, maybe not on a regular basis, but an irregular basis, and that would be not difficult to do. That might disturb. You want to make their life unpleasant.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to. Hey, if worse comes to worse, I don't know what their what is it? I'm not sure what the laws are with regard to owning falcons and that sort of thing. But I got news for you. If there's a game bird in that tree, even though the game bird is restrained in a cage or whatever, those guys are not going to come too close.
Okay.
Their instincts are going to tell them differently. But just a stuffed owl might, or two or three might do it. We had pigeons, and they discouraged those pigeons. I'll tell you that. They went to more pleasant places to live.
Okay. Well, thanks.
I hope it works out for you.
Bye-bye.
But birds can be a real pest. I have a good friend, close friend, whose father, for a number of, more years than I could count, fed the Canadian geese as they came through, and he had a pond, and the next thing you know, the geese are making this is like money from home. Here comes somebody out here bringing out the corn every day and feeding us, and there's water, and they can paddle around, and no hunting allowed, and whatever. And the next thing you know, after several years, there's goose you know what up to your eyebrows. Well, now the father is still with us, but somewhat infirm, and the other family as a matter of fact, what they had to do one time was blow the dam, drain the pond, and get rid of all this stuff. The goose excrement was in such major supply. And in that part of the country, this is in northern and central New Jersey, Canadian geese are flying rats. One of their major pharmaceutical companies, literally on their lawns, and I guess they're humane and that sort of thing, they have thousands of these suckers that come and decide we may as well live here rather than continuing their migration to wherever geese come and go. And from time to time, you look up in the sky, and those honkers are going through by the hundreds and thousands. And you say, well, wouldn't that be nuts? Except they are literally like, in a few of them around, okay, they're cute. Maybe they may make a dinner. If you're a hunter, it wouldn't be my thing. I don't like to hunt. But when you get, as I said, thousands of these flying rats, they do three things. They honk, they eat, and yes, indeed, they do. And that can be a big old mess. Very expensive proposition. Not good for business. Hey, I'll tell you what is good for business. Danny and I are hanging out here. Yeah, we're going to be here from something in the order of 10 tonight, right through 1 a.m., looking for you and your call. 800-743-8000. I'm Bruce. This is Talknet. Madison, Wisconsin, WTDY country. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. How you doing tonight?
I am real well, thank you.
Great. Well, I'll tell you, I've been listening to you for about 4 years now, and it is truly a pleasure to talk to you.
Well, thank you, Guy. I appreciate that.
All right, my situation here. Recently, my friends and I, we produced an album and started our little homegrown approach of distributing it throughout Wisconsin.
What kind of an album?
Well, it's kind of a parody type album, and that's what I'm going to be getting at. It's a rap style. I'm talking about the hunting and fishing state of Wisconsin here.
Okay.
So, but our problem is we used a few, not lyrics, but the music from a few popular songs today.
Well, you're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, and we didn't think it'd get this as big as it's starting to get.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what...
Got to get hold of ASCAP or BMI, whoever licenses it.
Okay, so all we have to do is...
Not all you have to do.
What we have to
That's like saying, you're going to make $1 million. You've got to contact the people who have the licenses, and they think to start with ASCAP and see if it's their stuff or BMI. The chances are one of the two has the licensing ability for that.
Okay, and what would happen if they just said flat out, no, you can't do this? Would we just have to take everything right out?
Flat out, no, you can't use it.
Yeah.
Because I tell you, this much you can be assured. That if you're using it and they aren't going to let you use it for whatever reason, they will come after you with a legal department that will dazzle you.
I'd imagine they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah. They have that kind of a reputation.
So there's nothing to say if we're under a certain dollar amount?
Nope. You're stealing right now.
So if we make $1, they can just get right on us, huh?
They make more than $1. They take that away from you. Yeah, you got to be licensed to use their stuff.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll get on that tomorrow then.
Yeah, you're going to find both of them in New York City, by the way.
In New York City?
You bet.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take good care. Yeah, they jealously guard their products. Maybe with good reason. Syracuse, hello there.
Hi, Bruce. How are you?
I am fine, thank you.
I've got a problem with a roof that I just put on.
You did. What happened?
I got the estimate back in August for a flat roof that's on top of an unheated porch. And they said that they were going to do the job probably within 9 weeks, which would have taken it to October. Well, we had a real nice fall, and it kind of extended the season. And I had...
Extended the season, right?
Yeah. Well, I had some, I had other odds and ends to do, and they told me they could come do everything in one day, and that would be it. Well, I didn't hear from them, and I came home last Wednesday, and all their supplies were here, so I knew that they planned on doing the job. And I still didn't hear from them, so I gave them a call, and I said, your supplies are here. When do you tend to do this? And they said Friday. Well, a forecast was great for Friday. Came out, took the old rolled roof off, put some decking on, and tar paper.
Decking?
Well, not decking. The plywood?
Why do they put the plywood down?
To replace the old roof.
Oh,
they didn't go all the way to the bottom. They put that on top of some other layers.
Okay, now you see, when you say replace a roof, customarily we're just talking about the roofing material. This is a little more serious job here.
Well, they put the plywood on and the tar paper.
And then tar paper on top of the plywood, and then hopefully this is a flat roof, I take it.
Right.
Huh? And the worst kind.
Yeah, and it's an old house, an old porch, and some of the structure, it's pretty deteriorated. There's no question about that. And when they took the stripping off, the porch, the roof comes away from the house, and there was a gap there. So it was very nice on Friday. They said I was told initially that everything would be done in one day. Well, it was nice Saturday and Sunday. Monday we had a soaking rain. Tuesday we had a soaking rain. I also had soffit ceiling put in on the porch on the inside. So they have the soffit on the inside, and in the rain they completed putting the rolled roof shingle type stuff on the top. So now I have all this nice moisture in between. And there was evidence that it was leaking before you put the rolled roof on because the porch floor was getting wet. So now it's a done job, and it's only going to deteriorate more. I mean, it was not by any means, 100% before. And they want full payment. And I've got kind of a water sandwich now.
Well, and the reason that, let's review the bidding here, because this got kind of convoluted. What you're saying is the reason that the water is in there is because of their lack of attention to getting the job done while the weather permitted.
Right.
Or sealing it up some way temporarily.
Right.
What's it going to cost to correct the problem?
Well, right now we've got probably 3 inches of snow on the ground, and I don't see any fair weather in sight as far as drying things out.
That wasn't my question.
No, but to correct the problem, I'm gonna have to have the thing dried out, and I don't see that.
What is it going to cost to correct the problem? I think the answer is you don't know.
And I don't know how it can be corrected at this time of the year.
No, the time of the year is a secondary issue. If for example, if I were the big structural expert of Madison, Wisconsin, right? The acknowledged expert, and I walked in and said it's going to cost $2.37 to get this thing solved. Whether it's now or in the spring is not the issue for the moment. That would be the number. Is that not true? But I don't think you've gotten a number of that kind, have you?
No.
Well, that in the absence of that would seem to me you ought to tell these people, I'm not going to pay anything until the springtime comes, when we can then get an accurate estimate of what it will cost to correct the problem and any damage that has come about because, let's hear me out, because of what you didn't do. Now, if you guys want to come out here in the meantime and do anything that you choose to do to be certain, at least in your opinion, that no more damage develops that you'll be responsible for, that's okay with me. But no money's going to change hands until spring, when we can safely open this thing up, take a look at what's going on, what it's going to cost to correct it, and correct it. How much money do you owe them?
$1,700.
Well, it's not probably not going to be enough even to correct the problem.
But there was, the in-between layer was deteriorated to some extent anyway.
All
so
right, then that's going to be, that'll have to be negotiated. Well, honey, that's going to have to be negotiated. And I think what you're going to probably have to do is get somebody to help you.
As far as getting
determining what it's going to cost. See, look, you're being honest. You're saying, look, before we began, we had a problem in there. So it's not all their fault. Is that essentially what you just said?
Uh-huh.
Well, we're going to have to determine what. But the only way you're going to find out is to open it up. And you don't want to open it up in December because it's snowing outside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then you can't do anything until spring, and tell them that.
Okay.
Now, it may be that they're going to want to do something. For example, they may say, all right, Mrs. So-and-so, but what we want to do is cut a hole in your house down below and start blowing warm air through there to try to dry this out so no more damage. You say, okay, go ahead. We'll pay the electric. I'm just, I don't know if that'd be the appropriate thing, but it might be. You got to give them at least the opportunity to try to cut their losses is what I'm trying to tell you.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Other than that, there's not much you can do.
All right, Bruce. Well, thank you very much.
I did. Not what you wanted to hear, huh?
Well, yeah, it is, but...
I mean, there's you got yourself into a bind, and just between us kids, part of it's your own fault.
Well, how's that?
Because you said, the weather was getting a little better, and I was a little more patient, and so on. You shouldn't have had that patience.
But they didn't tell me they were coming until I had the supplies here.
You should have sent the supplies away. I'm serious.
But it was going to be done in one day, and Friday was a nice day.
Well, that's terrific, but it didn't get done in one day, did it?
No.
Now, what did you do about that?
By that time, the decking was on and
the decking is on. Now, what did you do? Right, the next Friday night, now, they got home, and they're not coming back on Saturday. What did you do at that intersection?
I didn't do anything.
Well, that's part of the problem, you see. Whether you like it or not,
what would you have done?
I'd have been up there with plastic sheeting and made a temporary seal.
And you think that would be my responsibility, not theirs?
Whose house is it?
It's mine.
Who has to live with the problem?
That's me.
This case closed. I didn't say it was your responsibility. I would say it was in your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference between whose legal responsibility is it and who's going to get burned, so let's not be stupid kind of thing. Does that make any sense at all?
Yes, it does. Okay.
Well, of course, you see, I have the advantage of hindsight here. I wish you well, sweetheart.
Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome. But, hey, when you get in a situation like that, it's his fault, but you got to live with it. And if it requires you climbing around or putting some plastic up or doing whatever, let's assume they come in to put a dormer up. And 5 o'clock, well, hell, fellas, we got to go home. There's a big football game tonight. And you get a big hole in the side of your house, and then you turn on the television, you listen to the radio, and the storm of the century is coming. Are you going to sit there and say, well, boy, this is going to be terrible? Or do you go down to the hardware store and do your best to seal it up? I would think that you'd take the second course of action and then hassle out the responsibility later. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. We go to Miami, Florida, see what's developing. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm doing very nicely, thank you.
Great. I love your show and been listening to it for quite a few years. I have a little bit of a problem. I was recently terminated from a position in sales.
Why?
In pharmaceutical sales.
Why?
Well, the company laid off about 100 reps nationwide out of about 800, and I had been there 7 years. And
why did they do that?
Well, I don't know. They just cut back. I think the third quarter in 93 or the fourth quarter in 93 was pretty bad.
Well, the reason, okay, I mean, were you guys making your numbers or not?
Well, actually, my sales were better than the person who's in my territory now. And that's why I'm somewhat confused about the whole situation here. As to why, my territory was cut out and I was let go.
Well, I don't know. I mean, how long were you there? How long was he there? How well is he plugged in?
I was there 7 years.
And how long was he there?
The other person? About 5.
Well, it wasn't seniority then. What else? What other variables are there?
That I don't know. My sales were better, actually.
But aside from that, what other? There must be some other. How about age?
I'm 40.
How old is he?
Let's see. The other person was about 29.
Well, that could be a factor too.
Yeah, I was wondering what kind of legal recourse.
Well, I don't know. You see, they have a right to fire you.
Yeah.
They laid off 100 guys. You're only one of 100.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they don't have a right to fire you or lay you off because you're the wrong ethnicity or you're too old or that kind of, well, certainly under 40. But it's up to you to demonstrate that. Now, you say your sales were good, but were you making money for the company? How much were you earning?
47,000.
All right, 50 grand round number.
Mm-hmm.
How much were your sales last year?
Maybe I would say $500,000.
500,000, 10%.
Mm-hmm.
What do they expect their salespeople to do?
Well, I finished 94% of quota.
Well, you're pretty close then.
Yeah.
The other guy finished less, huh?
78, 79. They restructured the whole territories around.
Well,
they restructured different territories and had to eliminate three positions in the state of Florida. That's it.
Mm-hmm. What they're saying is they want to get more bang for their sales buck. Because you're on salary, I take it.
Mostly salary, right? Yeah.
Did they change the salary structure?
For the new people, or
yeah, for the new people.
That I don't know. No, this was an existing rep that had also been.
I understand.
Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
I don't think that you haven't told me anything that you have any recourse about. Mm-hmm. Nobody says you got to keep the brightest on board. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you could say, you know, that this guy did not the reason for hiring him. I don't think you can do much about that. If you could prove that they fired you for the wrong reasons, but there's 99 others out there. Mm-hmm. If it was just you alone, it'd be a different story, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. But I don't think so. But hey, are you a good salesman?
Sure.
Good salesmen are never out of work.
Definitely. Right.
There's plenty of, there's good salesmen. I'll give you a job tomorrow.
Okay.
On commission.
Need my number?
On commission. You want to do radio sales?
Yeah.
Not in Miami, but in another state. I'm dead serious. We're looking for salesmen in Texas. I'll tell you right now.
In Texas?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In Dallas?
No, not in Dallas.
Where?
In East Texas, about 100 miles from Dallas.
100 miles east of Dallas?
Yes. Down toward Shreveport.
Shreveport area.
In that area. Well, a little bit. But the point is that we are currently looking for salespeople. I'll tell you right now, they are commission paid. If you're good at what you do, you can make a very good living, but you're paid exactly what you're worth because you're paid commission.
Right.
If you're interested in a radio sales job, Danny will give you a number. I'll tell you what number to call.
Okay.
Simple as that. I'm dead serious because I know it's not me really, it's my son, but he is looking for salespeople, good salespeople.
Okay. How do I get your number?
Danny will give it to you in just a minute.
Okay.
All right. I do wish you well, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. Stick around. That's true. Hey, I never saw a time when good salespeople couldn't make a living. But there's a difference between the salesperson and an order taker. One hell of a difference. Very few life insurance policies, as an example, are purchased. They are sold. Automobile policies, they're purchased. Homeowners, that's purchased if you're in the insurance business. But life, usually it's sold. And I think you see the distinction. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. We go now to New Bedford, Mass, down east. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
How we doing, guy?
This is first-time caller.
First-time buyer. What are we selling?
First-time caller, and I appreciate you. You have a nice show, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you.
My question is, I'm trying to get some information on this particular company, and what they do actually is it's some sort of a school to train you to become a mortgage broker.
A mortgage broker, yeah. You saw it. I know exactly what it is.
Okay.
You saw an ad in either a magazine or maybe a shopping. What do you call it? A supermarket newspaper, one of those jobs. Or alternatively, you answered some other ad and got on a sucker list.
Right.
They're going to make you a mortgage broker, and they're going to send you to school for a ton of money and all that good stuff. And then
exactly.
they're going to help you place mortgages, right?
Exactly.
Forget about it.
I see. And they do ask for a tremendous amount of money. And then I attended a seminar about last year that they put up here in this area.
What you attended was a pitch, not a seminar.
Right. Mm-hmm. So
tell me about it.
I'm sorry?
What did they tell you at the pitch?
Oh, they say that you can make a lot of money and so forth, and you can. We have to work hard at it. They didn't say that you didn't have to, work hard at it. You definitely have to do that and to accomplish your goal and so forth. But it's a lot to, if you really work hard at it, then you will make some good money and so forth. But
how did they explain that you had to put so much money up?
I'm sorry?
How did they explain the fact that you were required to put up how much? $10,000, $12,000, something like that?
I think it was $7,000.
Yeah. How did they explain that you had to put up so much money for training? If it's such a good deal for them because they're going to make money off of your efforts, how come you had to pay so much up front? Did anybody ask that question?
Oh yeah, they did ask questions. And to be honest with you, I don't remember this is a year ago exactly what they come up with what answer they come up with, but they certainly came around and answer some questions, but to my satisfaction, they certainly did not answer the question. That's why I didn't even join. But they keep sending me letters and so forth and so on. Now they come up with a different program that you can be tutored at home through a certain system they have that you pay instead of paying $7,000, you pay $3,000, and you become just as good and so forth and so on.
Now, what does that tell you? What have they said to you? Now, don't be obscure. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're mining their rejects.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing they try to do is grab you for $7,000.
Right.
They can't sting you for the $7,000. Now we'll get you for $3,000.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a good possibility that they may come back and say, "Hey, it's your last chance. We're having a special last time only sale for $2,000 or $1,500."
Exactly. That's exactly what they've been doing.
Well, why in the world would you want to deal with somebody like this?
Well, I didn't want to. I haven't done anything. I was just wondering.
Well, I would hope that you're not going to.
I was just wondering if this is legit, or if it's just.
You gotta be. Wait a minute. Hold the phone. You're going through all this litany about how you're getting skinned, and now you want to know if it's legit? Come on already. They've laid it on the line. This is the way they're going to take your money, and now you want to know if they're legit. Save your money. Hey, we're going to be here tonight from 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. I hope you join us at 800-743-8000. I know it's not easy, kids. Give it your best shot. Try and do what's right. I'm Bruce Williams. Keep in touch.
Department wants me to double sleep.
That seems pretty unreasonable to me. I'm not sure.
Have you got any ideas?
Yes, well, who made that? You said a health department. They didn't make a decision. Some individual made it.
Well, according to their code, any drain field that is within 6 feet of a pressurized water line, that water line has to be double sleeved.
Well,
whether it's the water line going
why don't you be a lot cheaper than to move your drain field to discontinue that part that's close to 6 feet away from the line?
Drain field's already in.
I understand that. But it'd be a damn sight cheaper to extend the drain field in a different direction and cut off that portion of the drain field. How far away from the line are you? Are you on top of it?
No, about 6 feet.
Well, you said 6 feet.
Well, that's still within their code that it needs to be double sleeved.
You said you're 6 feet away or near 6 feet.
Uh-huh.
I'm saying take the drain field and cut that little portion off so you meet the 6 feet standard.
Cut my drain field off?
Yeah, dig it up and get rid of let's assume it's 5 feet away.
Okay, now there's another problem there. I have to have so many square feet of drainage.
Yeah.
And
you don't have that either?
I just don't have it in my front yard.
How big is your property?
No, it's about 0.4 acres. See, what the health department wanted me to dig a trench from the front of my house around to the side, and then they wanted me to put in 2 80-foot-long leach lines in my backyard. Essentially, they wanted me to dig up the whole yard, landscape, fencing, all this stuff.
That's unfortunately, but they wanted to be certain you have a functioning drain field. I think you have a well. You probably have a well in the backyard, don't you?
Yeah, it's pretty good size. So instead of doing that, I talked them in. Well, we can get so many. It had to be 478 square feet. We can put this in my front yard, and I had to take out a tree and stuff to get it in there.
Mm-hmm.
But then I told them that it has to be this shape in this area because we have a pressurized irrigation line here. And they go, oh, they didn't even know that,
Why did you shoot yourself in the foot?
Well, they told me, they said that that'd have to be pressurized.
Yeah, but why'd you tell them that?
Or
why did you bring it to their attention? They didn't know it was there.
Because I didn't know that it was going to be a problem.
Well, this is a lesson. You never tell a bureaucrat or an official anything.
Yeah.
If you don't have to tell them.
Mm-hmm.
Just on general principles, you tell them nothing. You volunteer nothing. I don't know what to tell you. I think the easiest way to do it, it's hard for me to believe that you couldn't reconfigure the drain field to pick up the lost square footage.
To do that, I might as well dig up the line and sleeve it.
Well, then that's what you may have to do.
Well, get this, too. They want me to go 20 feet of each side of the drain field. Well, the drain field is 4 feet from the property line, so they want me to dig in 16 feet into my neighbor's property.
I don't know what to tell you. I wish I had a better answer for you. I don't see why, if the thing is, if it's certified that this thing hasn't functioned in 15 years, as a practical matter, what the rest of the neighbors, they haven't used it for 15 years. What do they care about this system?
Well, that's it. Nobody cares.
Well, it might be easier to go to your neighbors and say, nobody cares, can we shut this thing down? It's a pain, but unless somebody hates you, that might be the way to go. Yeah. I do wish you well, Guy. I'm Bruce Williams. The problems we make for ourselves. This is Talknet. On Alaska, Wisconsin, thank you so much for your patience. What's on your mind?
Good evening, Bruce. I've waited for years to come up with a question that's good enough to call Bruce Williams.
Son of a gun.
I own a stereo store here in actually La Crosse, Wisconsin, on Alaska's the bedroom community.
Yes, indeed.
And I have a dispute with a customer.
No.
Yeah, well.
Son of a gun.
It happens.
Yeah.
First, you got to understand that my normal way of handling a dispute is you can never win an argument with a customer.
Well, that's right, because you may win the argument, but you lose the customer.
Exactly. So you might as well, 98% of the times, you might as well give in early, give in often, and give in graciously.
We went to the same school, you and I.
Yeah, well, good customer service. We had a customer that bought a car CD player from us, about $300 piece, and it was stolen. And he had insurance on it. The insurance replaced it and rebuilt his dash, of course, minus the deductible. It was determined a few months later that we incorrectly wrote down the serial number on the CD player when we wrote up the receipt. And the customer has played detective on trying to figure out who stole his CD player. And because we incorrectly wrote down the serial number, he is saying that he cannot possibly prove that the culprit stole his CD player.
Possibly. How far off were you? How do you know it's the incorrect number?
Well, I have a tag that proves that the serial number piece that we wrote down was actually in service at that day. There was probably a couple of them on the counter that day. It came back right around the time he bought it.
You have no idea what the correct number was?
No, I can't tell you now. I could make a guess, but boy, it would be thrown at our dartboard.
All right. So, does he think this is I hate to use this sound corny, an inside job of some kind?
Boy, at one point there was that accusation, but I think we've proven that was not the case.
I don't mean from you. I mean somebody he may know.
Maybe that. I don't know the answer from that. He did make the accusation against us. The other I can't say.
Okay.
Okay. The customers continue to complain. You know, what are you going to do for me because you wrote down the wrong serial number?
Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the insurance company is the one that, if anybody should be complaining, would be them, correct?
Not really.
Yeah. Okay. We were just going to let it die down. The police came in today. That is the policeman, the detective that's investigating the case, and they have another player that I'm assuming may be the one that he thinks is the problem, and has asked for a copy of all of the receipts for that model of CD player that we've sold over the past year. Now, that's about 8,000 receipts that we have to go through, and we probably sold 100 of those models.
Did you sold that many?
Yeah, we're a pretty good store. And I mean, shoot, I don't want to spend Christmas time going through 8,000 receipts.
Right.
But I'd rather get in a dispute with a customer than the police department. I want to get out of this cheaply and easily, and
I think as far as the police are concerned, I'd give them the 8,000 receipts.
Okay, or the copy of the...
No, give them the whole 8,000 or whatever it takes and say, here, these are my inventory records for the year for our equipment.
Huh, I hadn't thought of that. Okay.
And it's all here. All you got to do is you can extrapolate whatever you choose. I hope it's really helpful for you.
Yeah, all right. Okay, I give them a big stack.
I'll bet you 8,000 would be a hell of a stack.
Yeah, exactly. It's quite a few notebooks. Anything I can do to get this kid off my case?
I doubt it. I mean, he wants to play hawk show. Let him play hawk show. There's not much. It's unfortunate, but things happen. Accidents happen.
Right, exactly. We made a mistake. I apologized.
How much did this thing cost?
That's only $300. It's nothing major.
And how old is this? The guy who lost it?
Young, about 20, I guess.
I can understand he's upset. The only reason that you could justify maybe what he's doing is if he thinks it's someone close to him and he wants to nail him.
Yeah.
But that's another story. I do wish you well, guy. I wouldn't lose any sleep over this one. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Ithaca, New York, thank you very much for joining us. What's happening?
Hi, Bruce.
Hello there.
I'm calling because I left college in January of this year, and when I left, I had a balance on my student account for tuition. And I had applied late in the semester for a loan to cover that balance. It was supposed to be a guaranteed student loan, which I'd had no problem getting in the past.
Can you get those in mid-semester?
Yeah, you can get them up until 30 days past the last day of the semester.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I was doing it a little bit late, and that, according to my financial aid advisor, puts you at risk of the banks dawdling in order to not have to give it to you, which is what happened. I applied for it a little bit late, and the bank, there was some correction form that had to be filed. By the time that was filed, the closing date on the folder was past the last date that you could possibly file.
Okay.
So what happened was that the loan didn't go through, and I still had this balance in my account.
How much?
$4,000.
Okay.
Something like that. Now, what happened after that was that I didn't get any notification that it hadn't gone through, so I assumed that it went through, and I even called the school back after I had left to make sure it went through, and they said, well, it says that it's in process, so it shouldn't be a problem. In June, I got a bill from a collection agency, which said that I owed them $4,000 on a student tuition account.
No interim correspondence?
No. And so I first notified the school, and they said that I notified the financial aid department, and they said that they were never notified that the loan had not gone through either. And that without their knowing, student accounts had gone ahead and sold this to a collection agency. So I notified the collection agency that the amount was under dispute, and I set about trying to find out whose fault it was and if there was any way to still get this loan.
I doubt the loan, since you're no longer... You just dropped out of school?
Well, I left with terminal credit. I had one more class to take. I was getting married. So I'll be getting my degree, actually, in May of this year.
Well, do you still have student status? Or I don't believe you can get a loan retroactive.
No.
Once you've left school.
Right, I couldn't. So I spent forever trying to get the bank and the school to figure out whose fault it was.
But where are we going with this? Very quickly. I don't think you're going to get a student loan. You have to find another way to retire this.
Well, I think we found a way to do that, which is that my husband's a graduate student, and he's going to apply for a student loan.
Okay, you borrow against that. Well, I think that it's unfortunate that you didn't apply in a timely fashion. It's equally unfortunate that you didn't, but you better get the loan paid, otherwise they will not graduate you, and that one you can depend on. I wish you well, honey. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Hello there, I'm Bruce Williams. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. Welcome to Talknet, where we talk to you, with you, about you and your life, your hopes, your ambitions, your dreams, the things that make you special. And let me tell you this, if you get nothing else from our little get-togethers, remember, you are special. I'm Bruce for Talknet. Our telephone number, if you'd like to get on the horn, and I'm told we have an open line, are 6-800-743-8000, 800-743-8000, from anywhere in, on, or around North America. 800-743-8000. Let's begin in Charleston, South Carolina. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hi.
I need your expert opinion on something.
Let me check here. One expert opinion, Chef. Okay, medium rare. Let's do it.
Okay. I am in accounting, and I have one client as of right now, and would like to get more clients.
All right. How long have you been an accountant?
I've been accounting for about 17, 18 years now.
But I guess you just began on your own. Is that the thing?
Yes, right.
Okay. And why did you do that? Just kind of get some background here.
Kind of tired of putting up with lousy bosses. Let's put it that way.
There are lots of them around.
Yeah.
That's one thing that is not short supply.
Yeah.
But I got news for you. There's one other thing that's not short supply.
What's that?
Lousy employees.
Yeah, well, that's true, too.
Lots of them around, too. Okay, you want to be the boss. I have no quarrel with that.
Okay.
I take it you are a public accountant, not a certified accountant.
Neither. I am not...
well, public accountant, just an accountant.
I do accounting.
Well, in most, I mean, not all, but in most jurisdictions, I can say I'm an accountant. If I do accounting, I'm an accountant.
Right.
There is no standard for accountants.
Right.
There is clearly a standard for CPAs, certified public accountants.
That's correct.
So you're a public accountant, as I understand, by the definition, or put another way, by the definition that I have come to understand and would apply, you are a public accountant.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see. I want to extend my client base. I want to get a few more clients. And I'm not quite sure how to go about doing it, being that this is kind of a touchy type of service.
What in the world is sensitive or touchy about accounting?
Well...
except that you got to sit down there and listen to bad news regularly. I spent 3 hours with one of my accountants today. I come out suicidal. I mean, he's telling me all I got to give that...
There's been a few times I've been suicidal looking at some of the things I've had to look at, too.
Bums in Washington and how much I got to send them and so forth. I get suicidal about that, or at least a little down the dumps. But, I mean, as it happens, the gentleman I was with today is a CPA. But I certainly have used in the past and will continue to use public accountants who are competent. There's no need for having things certified.
Right.
Now, how do you find people? Well, let me see. You mentioned you've been in the business for 18 years. You must have been in your late 30s someplace?
37.
Okay. When you're seeking out a professional, what is your first name?
Nancy.
Well, how do you find one, Nancy?
Well, actually, I go through the yellow pages.
Well, all right.
And I ask a few friends.
Let's slow down now. You say you go to the yellow pages, and I am sure there are many others who would do the same thing. So what does that suggest?
Well,
what does that suggest, Nancy?
Pardon?
What does that suggest? That you ought to be in the yellow pages.
Well, I agree, 100%.
That's for openers.
I've already lost the deadline.
Well,
for this year.
This is not the last year.
Right.
There will be other years. I know it doesn't seem that way, but there will be. All right, but that's one thing. You because of your own experience, it would appear that that's one place to be.
Right.
Where else have you found professionals? You mentioned something. Get up with it.
Well, I've talked to friends.
Oh, stop right there. You've talked to friends. How many of your friends have you talked to and said, hey, listen, I hope my own practice. I really appreciate referrals.
Well,
how many?
Quite a few, actually.
Everybody. All right, now let's talk about you now, Nancy.
Okay.
Are you married, single, what?
Single.
All right. What do you do socially? That good, huh?
Yeah. Basically, just go to friends' houses.
Nancy, I don't want to be basically. I want to be specific. Let's start with this. Do you go to any type of religious house?
No.
Okay. Are you involved at all, or have any interest in politics?
I have lots of interest, but not involved.
Well, then you haven't. But you see, you're missing the boat by a lot of ways. All right. How about civic organizations?
No.
Well, you better start joining all these things, honey. That's part of being a professional in practice.
Mm-hmm.
You belong to the roadie. You belong to the Kiwanis. You belong to the chamber. Chamber probably at the head of the line first. You meet people there.
Mm-hmm.
It is not a bad idea to get involved in politics. You meet people in politics.
Mm-hmm.
Do you send out Christmas cards?
No.
Well, you're stiff. What do you do? What have you been doing for the last 17 years?
I hang around my computer all day.
Well, that's never going to get you any money.
I know.
I mean, you got to get out and about.
Well, I had a suggestion from somebody, and I really wanted to run it by you and get
What's
your
that?
opinion. Someone had suggested doing flyers. And the reason I said a touchy business is I'm wondering if somebody's not a professional, company isn't going to look at that and say, wait a minute, a flyer for someone that's do accounting,
You mean a mailed flyer, you mean?
Yeah, right.
I think that you can certainly send out some. You can try a couple, 3,000 pieces and see what kind of a percentage you get.
You don't think people would kind of look down?
How do I know?
Okay.
I'm not going to worry about that.
Well, in your opinion, how would you feel if you got a flyer in the mail from someone who does accounting?
I might throw it away. And in any flyer or mail piece, certainly 97, 98 people out of 100 or more are going to throw it away, so what difference does it make? We're not concerned about the ones that throw it away. We're concerned about the ones that might fill out the blank. Now, you might send something out and my accountant just left me or died or screwed me or who knows what.
Uh-huh.
And I might be looking for somebody that day. I don't know that.
But
you've got to try various approaches, but you're not going to get it sitting on your butt looking at your computer, I don't think.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, when you decide to go on your own, you should have already, 2 months before, joined these organizations I've discussed with you.
Mm-hmm.
Get out to luncheons. If there's a professional women's group in your area, are you a graduate? Are you a college graduate?
No, I'm 4 classes shy of an associate's degree.
Well, and you have nothing.
Right.
Associate's degree isn't anything, and you're shy of that.
Mm-hmm.
That only just means you've completed the sophomore year of college.
Right.
I'd get out and start taking some courses, too. But you got to get out and talk to people, sweetheart. That's where it's at.
Well, okay. The other thing I wanted to run by you, too, being that I'm not a CPA, I'm wondering if I should be getting a contract. Should I get, more clients? Should I write up a contract?
Well, I don't know what you want one for. I've never had a contract with any accounting firm that I've used.
Okay. I know some do. That's why I was wondering.
I'm just telling you, I've never had an accounting firm ask me for a contract.
Okay.
And I don't know why that would have any bearing on whether you have or have not a CPA.
Okay.
But I think you should continue your education. But I think with Nancy, you're looking for things the easy way. And you don't get this the easy way. It's the hard way. One client at a time.
Right.
You gotta ask and talk to people. Are you from Charleston?
Not originally, no.
You have family there?
No. I've got a boyfriend, but I mean,
All right, let's start with him. No, I'm serious. Does he have family?
Yes.
Does his family send out Christmas cards?
Yes.
Then everybody on that list you should talk to. Mm-hmm. Do you see what I'm getting to?
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't like that. I can tell by the tone of your voice. I don't blame you.
Well, I'm just trying to think of people that he would send Christmas cards to that would need that kind of service.
Oh, I understand, but we're trying. Well, what kind of service? Maybe you do a little tax work.
Well, no, actually, I'm not doing the tax work. What I'm doing is what most people would probably hire someone to come in their office and do.
Let me ask you.
Job costing.
No, you're doing this. You have one client. You're not doing anything. Most businesses, whether you like it or whether you don't, sweet, take the turn from the business available. In other words, if you own a store and 30 people come in looking for chili without beans, what are you going to put on the shelf?
Chili without beans.
Bingo. So if people need tax work, and you're getting right into the tax season now,
right,
at least it'll get you started.
True.
I wish you well, Nancy.
Okay.
I'm Bruce Williams. It ain't easy, and it shouldn't be. This is Talknet. Let's go to Montana. Garrison, Montana. Get a little drafty out that part of the world, huh?
Yes, Bruce, it's very cold here. We've got lots of snow.
Oh, that's a dirty word in my vocabulary.
I really enjoy your show, and my name is Bert, and I have an automobile insurance problem. About a year and a half ago, my husband got a DUI, and they just caught up with him, and they canceled all 5 policies.
Yeah.
and I have 2 automobiles in my name only for personal reasons. And I was wondering if you have any ideas how I can get insurance in my name only.
Not as long as you live with your husband.
I know. They tell me I have to be divorced from him before I can do that.
What did I guess you've been talking to the same people I would have you talk to, huh?
Right, evidently. Well,
see, he's a member of your family.
Yes.
You can say, well, I won't let him drive. But he still could get into your car and drive it.
Yes,
and the insurance company's on the hook, and they're just not going to go for that.
And they don't put any waivers on either, so.
Well, they can't.
Uh-huh.
No, does Montana require insurance?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if they put, as you call it, waivers on there, right? Are you there?
Yes.
Well, then they would have created an uninsured vehicle if he happens to get into it. The state's not going to do that.
I see. Then you don't have any ideas that I could come up with?
Well, you can divorce him.
Right.
I'm serious. If it comes to that, I mean, you are going to pay for his transgression, and pay dearly.
Yes, it amounts to thousands of dollars.
Yes. Yeah. Well, driving when you're drunk is a very serious proposition. Now, is he required in your state? They probably yanked his license at least for a time.
They did, yes.
Is he required to show financial responsibility to get his license back? In many states, that's what you got to do.
They took it away for 6 months, and then he got it back again.
But did he have to show financial responsibility?
I don't know.
That means you got to be able to go out and buy an insurance policy that covers you on everything that you drive.
We have to have everything covered.
Yes, I'm aware of that. But what I'm trying to get to, dear, is in many states they wouldn't give him his driver's license back until he had the insurance in place. The fact is, without regard, that doesn't matter. How many cars you say you have?
Well, we had 5 insurance, 5 covered.
Well, how many in your family?
Just him and I.
Well, then you got to get rid of 3 cars or 4 cars.
Right.
Because you just can't afford the insurance on 3 or 4 cars or 5 cars.
Nope, not anymore.
Not anymore. 1 car. Maybe you get 1. Possibly 2 if you have to have them. I don't know what your situation is.
Right. Well, he has a mechanic truck, and I have a pickup. Then we each have a car.
Well, but how many ways to say this? That's over.
Right.
At least for the time being. Because you are going to be penalized heavily for that.
Right. I have to pay for his mistake, too.
Yes, well, we've agreed to that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I just thought maybe you had a little something to tell me that I could get it somewhere I could get it in my own name without divorcing him.
Well, because he's still part of your family, that's the problem. You're living with him.
Right.
Well, until you stop doing that, I'm afraid you're going to be, and I'm not suggesting that you do, but you're going to be penalized for that, and penalized heavily.
Mm-hmm.
I do wish you well, dear.
All right, thank you.
Chattanooga, Tennessee, your turn. Welcome.
Thank you, Bruce. I love your show.
Thank you very much.
I'm a little pickle and can't seem to how to cope with it. I have a lawyer, and I have bought a 2 renunciation of my inheritance from my mother and father. And
you have renounced?
Yes.
Why?
My two younger brothers, I'm the oldest, are both money hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I do not approve of the way they live, and I'd much rather not have nothing to do with, the affairs of my father or my mother.
Why? Are your mother and dad
divorced?
All right, but they're still with us?
Yes.
Well, and then when you're saying you don't want to be in their will,
right?
Why? I mean,
because I'm subject to because my two brothers have gotten together when they was working with my father. My father owns a company that's going to be worth $1 million by the end of this year,
mm-hmm.
and they have gotten together when they was working with him and had talked about how they was going to sell stuff and split stuff. And I'm not the type of person that don't like to see someone screwed over. And I'm liable to take revenge upon them.
What kind of revenge?
I don't know. I'm no, in that state of mind when something happens like that, I don't know what I could be capable of doing. So I'd much rather give them everything, since I've got pretty well everything that I want.
Mm-hmm.
I have done well in the last 10 years, and
yeah, but don't you think there's something to be said?
Yeah.
Well, hold on now.
I gave my father a period of time that my lawyer sent him a letter stating what I was going to do. My father did not want to talk about it.
Let me ask you a question. I started to say something when you interrupted me.
I'm sorry.
Don't you think your father and mother deserve some consideration?
I don't know. I haven't.
You don't know?
And I haven't spoken to my mother in 4 years, and my daddy will not have any conversation with it whatsoever.
Why have you not spoken to your mom for 4 years?
She is a person that is two-faced. My priorities is, I guess, different than other people's.
Explain what you mean.
I hold my moral values pretty high up on anything that I say and do, and she doesn't, and I just can't, she thinks that what I do is wrong, and,
Well, what does she think that you do is wrong?
Well, I sell a little bit of pot every once in a while to people that do not force it on.
Well, wait a minute. On the one hand, you're telling me you have high moral values. On the other hand, you're telling me you're a junkie. You're a druggie.
No, I'm not no junkie.
You're a
I'm
druggie. So what do you mean? If you sell pot, you're a druggie?
Well, what if you sell...
It's an illegal activity in most...
What if you sell alcohol?
Alcohol is a legal activity in the United States, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
Tobacco wasn't knocking because it's a very in thing right now.
Right.
But it's also an extraordinarily difficult business to get insured.
Well, not necessarily. You can get in. You can start with maybe selling 100 boards a year.
No, I didn't say selling the boards. I said to get insured.
Oh, no, you don't even have to worry about that.
What do you mean you don't have to worry about that?
You don't have to worry about getting insured.
Why?
Because what are they going to insure you for? It's a non-liability sport.
Well, baloney.
Serious?
Who told you that?
Who's going to sue you?
You got to be kidding me.
No, there's certain liabilities that everybody assumes when they.
Where did you get your information?
I was an instructor for 2 years. I've been snowboarding for.
I'm not. Look, hear me out. I'm not opposed to snowboarding.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not opposed to skydiving. I'm not opposed to. I've never snowboarded, but I have skydived. I've flown ultralights. Most of the dangerous stuff. All right.
Mm-hmm.
But don't you ever believe for an instant that the fact that you take on the liability because you participate prohibits you from suing.
Okay. Well, they could sue. I'll give you. Anybody can sue anybody.
Yeah, and the cost of the defense can put you right in the dumper.
Right.
What I'm saying is, anybody who manufactures something like that, why do you suppose? You ever watch professional sports? Ever watch football?
Yes, sir.
How many helmets can you name?
2.
That's you know why you can only name 2?
No.
That's all there are.
Okay.
Why do you suppose that is?
Liability hours.
That's exactly right, because they can't get insured. And the liability, because if somebody gets a broken head and they're wearing the helmet, you would think that a guy playing professional football would be taking on the liability, wouldn't you?
Right.
But that's not true.
Right. Okay.
All I'm saying is that I have no problem with. I just made the observation. It's a hell of a business to get insured. That's all. I'll stand by that.
Actually, as a matter of fact, the company I work for, can I say the name?
No,
well,
really
never mind. They did offer insurance policies on their rental boards.
Mm-hmm.
No,
by the way, I just saw something I was on a plane as usual. Might have been today, where a lawsuit was just filed in New York City for like $16 million.
Yeah, someone on the hill, a snowboarder had
No, this wasn't a snowboarder. It was inline skates. Serious. The woman fell down and broke her something or other, and they. Well, you're laughing, but they're going to have to spend a ton of money to defend this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Whether I have no notion of the merits of whether it be successful or not. That was just in the paper in the last couple of days.
Well, okay. Well, anyways, what I'm doing is I'm looking for some venture capital. Okay, I've got a couple different ways I can go to make this company, but in order to do it right, because I'm looking at getting the licensee for a couple of major labels.
Okay.
And which would 2 little feathers in my hat. One, because of name recognition, because of my name, and because of the 2 licensees that I'm going to hold.
Well, you're going to put your own name on this because you're well known?
Yeah, my name, but and
a couple of champions?
Graphics. Yeah, the graphics that I can put on there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I think you're going to have a very tough time.
Think so?
Unless because if you came to me, I wouldn't want even my dollars invested. I'd be afraid that somebody might get to me.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm going to talk a little more quickly than I would like. There was a lawsuit where an elderly lady loaned her nephew some money. He went out and as I recall, got drunk and had an accident. And they went after her because if she hadn't loaned the money, he couldn't have put the car to have the accident. Now, given that kind of I'm not telling you this is right or wrong. I don't agree with this stuff.
Well, I mean,
but given that convoluted logic, I would not want I wouldn't want the most devious trail. I'm serious. I couldn't afford the liability because my pockets are deep enough where they'd come after me. And the venture capitalist, I think you're going to find, is in the same barge. Now, you may find a sugar daddy, and I hope you do. But you're just walking in a very hazardous area. I don't think it's a wrong area, but a very hazardous one. I'm Bruce for Talknet. Port Huron, Michigan. Hello there.
Hi, Bruce.
Hello.
I have a quick question for you. I got into the tail end of one of your programs on umbrella policies.
As we speak, I opened the bill today for my umbrella.
Oh, is you?
Mm-hmm.
Does this umbrella policy cover your home and your auto, or do you?
Yes, sir. Both.
Both. And who do you usually insure this through, your auto or your homeowner?
Well, in my opinion, you ought to have those two policies with the same company.
I see.
And it makes life a lot easier. You can insure it with either one as long as the other will allow it. Some companies take a very narrow view of not having the umbrella policy folks, of not having both ends of the insurance.
I see.
Which is very possible in your case. I don't know that. I have no way of knowing that.
What would you suggest I insure myself for?
Well, at very least $1 million. I think several millions is more reasonable. And it's very inexpensive. My case was $100.
Oh, great. Okay.
As I said, I just opened the bill here on one of the breaks, so I know exactly what my umbrella cost me. Now, in my case, there are certain exclusions. Nothing to do with my broadcast career, for example, is covered. And you can understand why. And I carry another policy to cover those show shortcomings, if you will. But I would be nervous, moving without an umbrella policy in my hot little paws, covering just about everything in my life.
Yeah, I can see where you're coming from.
Pardon me?
I can see where you're coming from.
Oh, by the way, it's not a high. I'm sure I misinformed you on the premium. By the way, that's for 6 months. It looks like I just grabbed it out here. I think it's for 6 months, so it's more than $100. I see. I owe them $100. What it says here, but it's very inexpensive when it comes down to.
Right. Okay, fine.
Good enough.
Thank you very much.
I wish you well, guy. East Hartford, not Hartford, but East Hartford, Connecticut. Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
I have a question for you. How are you?
I am just fine, thank you.
Well, my problem is really, we have this kind of a timeshare.
Kind of a timeshare?
thing that we got ourselves involved in. And it's more on a resort type of based thing. It's like a vacation land. I don't know how
no,
to
you have to be a little more clear, dear. Tell me what you got, not what it's kind of like. What do you have?
I would call it a timeshare or a resort.
Well, no,
spot.
you see, I don't mean to be unkind, dear. What you call it is unimportant. What is it? If you call a Cocker Spaniel a horse, it's still a Cocker Spaniel. Now, you got to tell me what you got.
It's a resort vacation land. That's what they call it as.
Well, what did you agree to do?
What it is they told us that we could pay on this place, and whenever we take vacations, we could go at these different sites, like a campsite.
Oh, it's a camp. It's a campground.
Right.
All right.
And we could go at these different campsites, and they would provide all the necessities we need. But the problem that we're having is we are unable to go in any of these places for vacation.
Why?
Financially, I'm not working, and it's my husband alone.
Why did you agree to do this?
Because at the time I was working, and it sounds like a great deal.
Okay.
And unfortunately, we would like to back out of it.
Well, unfortunately, they're not going to let you.
That's the problem I'm having.
Yes, I'm sure.
I would like an answer or direct me in the right path as to what I could do.
Well, I'm not sure there's a whole lot you can do except stop paying them and let them come after you, which they may or may not do. You see, you've agreed to purchase something.
Right.
Well, and their position is, well, do what you said you were going to do. Now, is there anything that they promised you?
Well, they
Hold it. Let me finish.
Okay.
Is there anything they promised you that they didn't deliver?
Yes, they told us that if at any time we would like to sell this thing, they would help us.
That wasn't what I had in mind. We'll get to that in a minute. So did they say there'll be swimming pools and there aren't any pools, or did they say the clubhouse is ready to go and it's not? That's what I'm looking for.
All of that is true.
What?
What they told us. They have swimming pools.
Everything that they didn't misrepresent in that regard.
In that regard, no.
Okay. And they also said, look, if you want to get out, we'll try and help you sell it, right?
Yes, they did.
Well, that's fine. And they'll say, okay, we'll try, but I have a feeling they're going to try unsuccessfully. That's the problem, because those things are virtually impossible to resell.
Right, because they're telling us that we need to advertise for ourselves.
Yeah, but
everyone who we contact is telling us that it's just a big scam. And
it is. Nobody's going
to get into it.
No one is going to buy it. How much do you still owe them?
See, that's the thing. I keep asking them what our balance is, because we have this for quite a while. And until this point, they cannot give me a direct figure. Wow. But I have a feeling we're like 3/4 ways into it, because when we bought it, we paid a little over $9,000 for it.
Boy.
And it's at 15%.
Oh, yeah.
And now when I called up, their financial advisor is telling us that if we have to get buyers and then we have to pay them 5% of what we purchased this resort for to them for transfer of fee. Well, we can't afford to go, and we just want to get out of it.
I think you're going to have a very hard time getting out of it. You might want to have an attorney send them a letter.
Okay.
And it's all a matter of bluffs here. They deal with this every day, that people want to escape. Now, how much? The question is, in some situations, it's all bluster, and if you just walk away, they leave you alone. In others, they will sell that contract to someone else who will buy it for 10 or 15 or 20 cents on a dollar, and they'll take their chances that they can squeeze some money out of you.
Okay.
But unfortunately, you did sign a contract.
Yes, we did.
I wish you well, dear. Do please run it past an attorney, one who's rather aggressive. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. All righty, we go down to West Texas, El Paso. Hello there.
Hello, Bruce. First-time caller, new listener also.
Well, I'm very happy to have you with us, and what's on your mind?
I got a couple questions for you. One of them is taking me forever to pay off some loans, some credit cards.
Forever, huh?
I know you've heard this many times before, and I've heard it on your show many times. Sounds just like me.
How much do you owe?
About $12,000.
All right. How much do you earn?
I'm a firefighter here in El Paso, and also a part-time teacher. I make about $31,000 altogether. And it seems like several of these credit cards I haven't used for over a year, and it's just taken so long to pay them off. And get behind, you get a finance charge or late payment, and you pay them $100, and next month you still only gain about $15 on your balance.
If you pay the minimum payments, you'll be there forever. There's no question about that.
Right, and I'm watching myself go nowhere with these credit cards, and try to get a loan on a credit card that's got lower interest, and they come back and tell me my debt-to-income ratio is too high.
Indeed. Well, there's no question about that.
I don't have a car payment, got those paid off, got a home, a new baby. I'm trying to catch up on these things, and I'm looking for maybe a suggestion or an out, or what do you think about the credit counseling? And
I think that non-profit credit counselors are excellent resources, and I think you ought to talk to them. But I also think I'm guessing now your wife's unemployed.
She works here at home. She
has a child.
Yeah, she works hard.
Well, without regard to that, she may have to go outside the house and work. Now, if that means, you said you're a firefighter. Do you work a regular shift, or they move you all over the lot?
Work 24-hour shifts.
What I'm trying to get to, what do you mean? Well, talk to me. What do you mean 24-hour shifts?
Well, you go in at noon one day, you're off at noon the next day. You do that for 3 days, and then you're off for 4 days. So we're 10 shifts a month. Each
it doesn't lend itself very well for you to be home with a kid once in a while.
Sure does.
It doesn't work out so well for that, does it?
Oh, well, not really.
I'm trying to get to your wife would have a difficult time getting a job.
Right.
Because you're home such screwball hours.
And I don't want to go that route. She quit her job to raise the baby.
Well, yeah, but you see, maybe you don't have that luxury, my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I understand what you're telling me, and I think it's a shame that in this society that you and I live in, that so many couples both have to be gainfully employed.
Mm-hmm.
But that may be the case here. The idea of being able to stay home with a troll may not be a luxury that you guys can afford. As simple as that.
See, we can't. We're not going to. We've already discussed it. She's not going to work. And I don't want her to, and she doesn't want to.
Well, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot of things we don't want to do in life. And I'm not saying that this is all beer and Skittles, but did you and your wife not get yourself in this jam?
Oh, that's for sure.
Well, then you and your wife have to get yourself out. Now, you were telling me, you're telling me, I'm choking. Hold on.
There you go.
You're telling me that you're working as a firefighter,
right?
And you're working part-time.
Right.
I don't know how much more we can get out of your hide, as much as I like to. Well, there's only one butt left, and that's your wife's. No, that's just the way life is.
You're right.
I'm not telling you it's fair. Do you honestly believe that a significant number of women that are killing themselves in the marketplace do it because they want to have a career? They've been reading Ms. Magazine. Come on, they're doing it because they have to keep beans and rice on the table.
You're right about that.
And they've made sacrifice. I used to be in the child care business.
Okay.
And a lot of those women used to come in there, and they didn't want to go to work and leave their youngster with somebody else, but they had to. But they faced life as an adult. And you guys are, well, mommy wants to stay home. And I can understand the emotion, but if you said, I want a Rolls Royce, you can't afford that either. Now, if you're going to ask me to justify this socially, I can't because I don't agree with it.
Okay.
There was a time 75 years ago when one man could work at a reasonably middle-class job, and not only could his wife stay home, but they could have servants. Then the time came, well, she could still stay home with no more servants. Then the next generation came along, and she couldn't stay home anymore. And over half the women who are married and have children are working, my friend. And lots of them go back after 6 weeks.
You're right. I see it all the time.
Yes. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing either. But I am saying, in your case, you tell me a better solution.
Well, I can't think of one. I was calling you.
Well, I'm giving you unfortunately, the solution that a significant number of your peers have adopted because there is no other.
Right. Well, I didn't expect to hear anything else.
It's not forever.
You're right.
I mean, a couple of years you get cleaned up. That doesn't mean she's not going to see her child. But it does mean some sacrifice.
Right.
But the point is, you got yourself in. As a team. Now, it's necessary to get yourself out the same way.
That's true.
I do wish you well, Guy.
All right, Bruce, thanks a lot.
I know life is full of lousy choices. There's no question about that. And this is just one of them. From East Texas, we go up to Michigan, the heart of the Midwest. Lansing, hello there. Hey, Lansing, are you there?
Oh, yeah. How you doing?
Yeah, wake up.
I thought you said East Texas or something like that.
No, I said we're leaving East Texas.
Okay.
Anyway, enough of the travelogue. What's on your mind?
Okay. Well, I'll give you a quick story here. I got a question on leasing. I was living in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
I leased a vehicle. Paid on it for 10 months. Lost my job after haggling for about a month and a half of them trying to get me to find money. I couldn't find money to make the payments. They were going to repossess the vehicle, and I called them up and voluntarily took the vehicle back.
Mm-hmm.
They had told me to take it back to the dealership.
Mm-hmm.
Then about 2 weeks later, I got a call from the manager of the leasing company, and she said that they were going to sue me. Okay, this was about a year ago. Since then, I've moved back to the United States, and I have not heard anything from this leasing company. How long do I have to wait?
Fear them?
Fear them, hold my breath, wait to make plans, you know?
I'm not sure if there's any statutory period.
Okay.
The likelihood is a couple of things may have happened here. One, they took a look and said, look, this guy's got nothing. Why bother? And that's, that goes down hard, but you've heard me say it to people when they've someone else owed the money. If the other guy hasn't got anything, why go through the exercise of a suit and whatever? Now you got a suit against somebody who hasn't got any money.
Exactly.
So why bother?
Plus the vehicle was in mint condition with low
That
miles.
has nothing to do with anything.
No?
No, it's the contract.
It's the contract.
Absolutely, you walked out on what should have been a very profitable contract for them.
Okay.
Now, it's possible they could get a good portion of their money back, but not for the... You see, let's assume you're going to say, well, look, the car was worth $10 and they could probably get $10 for it, so they're okay. But how about the 3 years of profit they would have made had you not gone bad?
Exactly.
And they look at that as profit loss, and you can't hate them for that. But if they were pragmatic, as would appear to be the case, they've just written it off. Now, it may or may not show up on a credit report. Have you checked your credit report recently?
Well, that was my next question. Now I'm back in the U.S. I'm a U.S. citizen. My credit in the U.S. was good. Since I've came back, I've gotten all my major credit cards back and some other stuff, and my credit seems to be... I haven't checked my credit, but I haven't had any turn down.
It would appear it's not on there. I think they've probably written you off.
Okay, that does... Canadian credit and the U.S. credit are one, or...
Well, I don't know. It's fair to say they're one, but if you're asking me, is there any exchange of information across that unguarded border, the answer is certainly yes.
Okay.
I mean, there are a lot of common credit grantors.
Okay, and if they did decide to sue me, would they sue me here, or would I have to go back to Canada?
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
If they have offices across the world, as they may very well, then they probably sue you here.
I see. Okay.
Good luck, guy. I'm Bruce Williams. This is Talknet. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Welcome to my world.
Hello, Bruce.
How you doing, guy?
Doing pretty good. I just have a couple questions for you. I work for a small to medium-sized mail order business here in Tulsa.
What do you do?
I do collections and accounts receivables, basically, and among other things. But that is primarily my job.
Get the money, huh?
I try, anyway.
Okay.
We seem to have a problem with what you could call reverse mail fraud.
Reverse mail fraud. I don't have a whole lot of time, but you've captured my attention. What are you talking about?
We receive orders nationwide, few international orders. We have a system set up where it's basically pre-approved credit. There's not really a credit search done.
Yeah, I understand. How much? What's the average amount of credit you extend to somebody?
Basically, our average order is around $75. Our computer system set up to...
Okay, about $75. That's your exposure in the average account.
Basically, yes.
All right, and you're telling me guys are opening fraudulent accounts and beating you?
Accounts, yes.
Happens, and if you don't have some way to protect yourself, either by doing a certain, and it may not be economically good decision to do credit. For example, how many do you get stuck for? What percentage?
Probably 1% to 2%, probably.
Well, you're right in the borderline there someplace.
Yeah.
What would you see? You have to determine what it would cost you to make a credit exploration on each part. And I have to believe it would be more costly than the write-off.
Yeah.
So you just got to add 1 or 2% to the cost of doing business.
Is there any function I could go through to report like fraudulent addresses that we have problems with?
I don't know of any clearinghouse for that information.
Okay.
I do know there are a couple of companies, as you must know, that guarantee checks. For 1% of the check cost, you write a check for $100, they guarantee to the merchant it's going to be good, and then they take a point off the top of that. Maybe it's more. I think it's a point though.
Yeah.
Now those companies keep some files for the obvious reason. because then when the check comes in for consideration, it's done electronically. There are things they look for and would kick it back out. But as a practical matter, the number is a terrible way to put this, but it's an acceptable shrinkage.
I've tried to go through the postal service reporting
not going to happen.
Some address, and I hadn't received any response.
Not going to happen.
Yeah.
Unless somebody starts. That's the old thing. If you steal $1 from 100 people, nobody cares. You steal $100 from one guy, then you get a little resistance. And I sympathize. And it's really it's a sad observation that there is an acceptable tolerance for fraud. Dean Dallas, John and